Welcome everybody to Crunch Time. Jeff, Booner, Lukas, and Michael Gentry. Another great episode planned for today. We have a special guest joining us. DoseOfDion will be joining us at 8:30. But boys, before we get into what's going on, what we have planned for the show, because we do have a lot of things planned. How's everyone feeling tonight?
I feel great. I just watched the Daytona 500. Kyle Busch just lost the Daytona 500, boys. But
I was about to say, did your guy win or not? Did your bet win? No.
I did hit. I had William Byron to win. I had a couple guys to win. William Byron was one of them. So I made money, but my guy lost. Well, let's talk some Detroit Lions football.
You're the only guy that I know that has bet on All-Star Weekend while we were out, and you're betting on Daytona.
I'm a man of the people. I'm a man of the people. I'm a very versatile athlete, as they say.
Versatile.
We had better luck betting the All-Star game than we did UFC and some other things, but not a bad weekend.
Yeah,
we'll be back. We'll be back.
UFC was tough. That was tough.
It was brutal.
Like that, man.
That's why you never believe in Jeff.
Yeah. Well, hey, we were lockstep.
Jeff was the other guy.
Just kept steering us the wrong way. It's like the third time straight betting on Jeff's UFC picks.
I literally said, don't bet on. I said, I'm not telling you because of Tafa, and you're like, he's gonna win, and he got smoked in a round. So like that sounds like a Michael Gentry problem. To be honest,
that was the one bad pick, but the other ones were good. And
nothing happened.
I was Spade and Volk the whole day, and that came out to be a winner. So you win some, you lose some.
I was Booner.
Hey, I just want to say something real quick. I'm a little interruption from Booner again. I know I do this a lot. I just want people to know. I know we're here for football and Lions. The Daytona 500 is one of the best sporting events of all time. Like winning the Daytona 500, watching it, it's one of the best things of all time. Like people joke around about racing. The Daytona 500 is like the Super Bowl of it, and it's beautiful seeing new guys win it. It's beautiful. All right, I'm sorry. Get that out. Booner,
let it go.
I
would know. I don't indulge.
Dude, my driver has won everything besides the Daytona 500. It's like my last thing I need in the racing world is a Daytona 500, and I cannot get it.
Like Josh Allen with the Super Bowl.
That's what it feels like, dude. The Lions are going to a Super Bowl. Like it's just like I'm just like right there. My fandom.
I think the closest I got to anything NASCAR was I just knew Jeff Gordon because his name was Jeff. Is he still racing?
No, he is not.
Okay, then there you go.
There you go. That was one of the guys I knew too, Jeff. So,
Jimmy Johnson, boys.
Yeah.
I think
I met Jimmy Johnson a few years ago.
I don't know.
I want to give some shout outs here. Everyone that joined first, Anakin, as always, Robin's Nest. For thank you guys, man, for supporting us. Efog, Dante. We even got Shift God in here as always. J Mommy. We got ETN. Steve Lehman, and Vince
Legends.
Man, just the regulars, man. The guys the people that been supporting us. Jonah, steel tipped cleats. That's a new one. I think you're new to the show, so we thank you for your presence. I like that name, steel tipped.
What a name!
For people that are just joining us, if it is your first time tuning in, Mondays we do mock draft Mondays. So today we'll be going through our own mock drafts. This is actually different. Last Monday we did one together collectively. Today we each are doing our own. Lukas, are you grading ours or you got your own?
I just sent it. Does my mic sound better now, by the way?
You sound great.
You
sound beautiful.
Fine. So we'll each be I'll show each of our mock drafts. You guys can grade it. Obviously, we'll grade collectively as a group on each of our own. Also, like I said, Dion will be joining us at 8:30. Break down the Lions off season, so that'll be exciting. But to start us off right now, I want to get this out of the way because no one really cares about it, but it is a fun conversation. We got to see it together. The All-Star game, man, that sucks. It does suck. And you kind of know what the product is at this point. Like I don't even know why I'm bringing it up because we kind of knew it would suck. But man, it's such a shame. I saw a clip today of Kobe and when he was talking about it and the way Kobe described it, like I could relate as a fan because he's like, people want to see the best players in the world on a stage competing. And it's turned into like a combined 350-point game.
It's brutal.
No defense, guys. I mean, Karl Anthony Towns had 50. Like, there's your red flag right there. He had 50. And then you had Damian Lillard win MVP, which, okay, Damian Lillard had a hell of a weekend, but All-Star Weekend sucks.
Dude,
well, I mean, the dunk contest sucks. It all sucks.
It's the most brutal thing. And you know what it is? And I think it comes down to, it's that like, just like today's like age when it comes to like these sports and everything, it's like you see guys all the time taking nights off. And like back in the day, it's like guys just didn't do that. Like Kobe, like these guys, like they just went out there and they want to lock up and they just want to play it as hard as they could. And they want to, like, no matter where they're at, what it is, you see a lot of guys taking rest now for injury. Like there's just so many different aspects of the game that has changed. I also too, I was thinking this yesterday. I don't know how you guys feel about this, but like even with the Pro Bowl and all these different things, I think what started to happen was like about 10 years ago when all the, like Adam Silver, like all these new commissioners came in. Like Goodell started to do it as well, but they're like, let's try and innovate and change the game. Let's try and do different things. Let's try and change up the Pro Bowl. Let's try and change up the All-Star game. Let's add these different things to it. And when you start adding things, it starts taking away and it starts changing it a ton. And that's where I think kind of things started to turn, is when they started to try and all these new different things like drafting teams, and it just turns into like a little bit of a show game instead of an actual All-Star game, which sucks, dude. I would love like the early 2000s and even into like the 2008, 2009. Like I watched the clip of the 05 Pistons out there like locking up, and it was like an 90-90 game in the fourth quarter. And it's just like guys just don't want to play anymore. It's like guys will sit out for rest. Guys don't want to play. That's all it is, man. It sucks.
They need some sort of like incentive in it, kind of like the NHL did with the skills competition. You had McDavid go out there and win $1 million for doing something that he does every single day in practice and tries his ass off. There's just no incentive behind it. The players don't give a shit. You could literally what?
No, you're just
oh no, but I was gonna say Gilbert Arenas literally talked about it on his podcast. They was like, he said they should do like a 1-on-1 or 2-on-2 tournament or something like that. And like the players would feel like embarrassed to lose in like a situation like that in front of everyone. And, you know, a 1-on-1, like their pride's gone just after that game. Maybe it's someone they're talking trash to all year and they have to face them in front of all those people. So just like different ways for the players to actually carry, like give them some money, do something. Like if we had those rosters, like the West roster playing at a high level the whole entire game, like there's like 8 Hall of Famers on that roster, like as is. So like to see them going full speed at a high level would be insane. They need to figure out some way to have those guys do it.
Just clout. It's just clout at this point.
Think about where we are. I mean, Anthony Edwards came out and was like, "Yeah, we're just doing it, man. Like no one takes it serious. We're just having fun. Just a bunch of dudes being dudes. Like we're shooting, and no one's playing defense. It looks like I wouldn't even say a pickup game, because I think Kobe used the quote, I've seen pickup games at UCLA that are more competitive, which I think applies to this. But it's just a disgrace. The only thing I actually enjoyed was Steph or Sabrina, because Sabrina actually had as much points as the winner of the actual men's 3-point competition, which was interesting. But that was the only thing that was worth watching. Like everything else was garbage. NBA All-Star Weekend, garbage. Dunk contest, ever since Aaron Gordon and Zach LaVine. Aaron got robbed and Zach quit doing it. It's over. Like there's nothing to.
And you know what? I blame LeBron partly for that too, because the fact LeBron never did a dunk contest, and this isn't like a shot at like you liking him. I'm not doing any of that at all. Don't even make that face. You know, you making that face shows me that you're just a gobbler of LeBron. So
no, I want to hear why it's one guy's fault.
He's a guy that should have done it. Michael Jordan did it early in his career. Like he set the precedence where some of these guys who like usually do it, like typically back in the day, it's stars, like guys in the league who are well known that have bounce go and do this. And like LeBron was the one that's like everyone wanted to see. And when you see a guy like LeBron be like, nope, I'm not doing it. Other stars are like, nope, not doing it. And now we're sitting here with Mac McClung, back-to-back champions, a guy who's played 10 games in the G League. Like, what are we doing here? Like LeBron should have done it. The fact LeBron's never done it in his career set such a bad precedent. And I'm not going to sit here and blame it all on him. I'm just saying, like, dude, why? Like, what are we doing here? You're supposed to be the best.
You literally
just of all time.
Okay, Booner, and I'm not going to even, because I get it. Like, yeah, would you like him to do a dunk contest? Yeah, but like, how can
Anthony Edwards should be in it?
Yeah, he should be.
Thank you. Like how does that apply to LeBron? Like, how does Jaylen Brown jumping over Kai Cenat, like that is like not.
Well, Jeff, if you have such a high pedestal for LeBron, he is a leader around the NBA because he's on your pedestal like that. So he sets a precedent for other players and other people around the league. Him not doing it ever in his career like shows like, hey, if LeBron doesn't have to, why do I have to? Let's go to Mac McClung. Now
to be fair, the 3-point contest was good this year. Like every player went over 20 in the first round. There was a lot of good players in that, and it was a good finish too. Me and Booner won some money on that, but that was entertaining. But the dunk contest, they need to figure something out or throw it away.
Would you guys rather watch Pro Bowl or the All-Star game?
The All-Star.
All-Star, without a doubt.
The Pro Bowl.
I don't want to watch flag football.
I know Pro Bowl or All-Star game, NBA All-Star game. I mean,
the Pro Bowl is brutal.
Yeah, like that's a whole nother level of brutal. It truly is. I know people are talking about it. Jonas says, God, I can't stand the NBA. ETN says LeBron crowding himself is so cringe. Steve Wild says, I want to know Lucas's opinion on Van Ginkel. That's quite a comment right there. Van Ginkel. Hey, Downtown Deuce says, what up though, fellas? Man, appreciate you, Deuce. Appreciate you.
Shout out.
Much love to you.
Legend.
Let's see. G Cruz 911 says, "What's up, fellas? You guys think the Lions will use Hooker like the Saints use Taysom Hill on in their offense?" I don't think so. I don't think so because number one, I think he's more than that. But number two, I think just with the ACL injury, I doubt they're going to have that man on like those type of packages. I could be wrong. I mean, that's just what I think. I don't think they're going to. All right, Hooker, you're in there for that. Yeah, no,
Hooker's
a quarterback draw.
Coming off an injury, I'm interested to see in the preseason. Maybe we do start seeing like if he opens something up, maybe they throw him in a couple packages here and there. But
you have David Montgomery, and this isn't at you, Booner.
5% chance that happens.
And this isn't at you, Booner. But what sense does it make to run Hendon Hooker behind the best offensive line when you have Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery? That's just you. You're risking potentially a lot down the road for basically nothing. It makes no sense.
I'm with you. I agree.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I see this comment too. Did I miss Dose? No, Dose is joining us in 15 minutes, so he'll be on at 8:30. So we're excited to have him. Like Dose is he's a talented, he's a good dude, and he knows.
First time I get to meet him.
Yeah, he's great. He really is great. He actually does stuff because he does stuff with Beach Report too, which we were alternating during the line season. Like he crushes, man. Speaking of Van Ginkel, I know someone put that. Steve Wild.
Are we talking Alex Van Ginkel here?
No. What's up? What's up, Mike?
Before we get going on the NFL, shout out to the Wings, though. I know I've seen a few people commenting. 2 huge wins, obviously. You go home now, 2-2 on the road trip, which is huge. They're playing really, really good hockey. So shout out to them. They got a big game against Colorado coming up next at home. So they're pushing for the playoffs, boys. It's going to be exciting. We're gonna have to hit a game.
Get nervous, Gentry?
Let's do that.
For the Red, no, I'm not getting nervous for them, man. They're playing really good. I think come the deadline, what is it, first week of March, they're gonna add a few guys. So we'll maybe have a segment coming up on that maybe later this week. But I think they're gonna make some moves and they're gonna go for it. And I think they're making the playoffs for sure. What they do after that, who knows?
Yeah, they're in the final wild card spot right now. I see.
Yeah,
which
good hockey, man.
Yeah, they are. They're 4 points ahead of New Jersey. So. They got a little boost there, but hell yeah. We got to go to a Red Wings game. Certainly.
I've never been.
You've never been to a Red Wings game or a hockey game?
Maybe this Saturday we go look.
I've never been to a professional hockey game.
You never been to an NHL game?
Oh,
no.
Let's go Saturday, boys. Noon.
That needs to be we got to film that whole experience.
Saturday, boys.
Yeah, I'm down for it.
Yeah,
How much
it's a noon game on Saturday too? I can't answer that question.
I can't believe that. That is crazy. Never been to an NHL game.
No.
I mean, what do you got to watch? I mean,
because I'm not like the biggest. Like I've always supported the Red Wings, but I couldn't tell you more than one player on their team at once. So it's not like I was paying money to go see a Red Wings game, and it's not even like disrespectful. It's just I've never really been that much into hockey to think, I've never been to an NHL game.
JT's massive purpose as Wings games are the best. I would even argue Wings games, man, or just NHL games in general, are one of the best live sporting events to attend. I think of all. I think a UFC fight would be my number one.
I've never been to a UFC fight, so I don't want to comment, but I would love to go check that out.
But I think hockey attending an NHL game is right there. I think it's way better than an NBA game, in my opinion. I love the NBA,
yeah.
But just the experience
is different.
It's different energy. Yeah.
Every game at LCA this season has been packed, and ever since they traded for Patrick Kane, every game has felt like a playoff environment. And I obviously went to a few Lions games this year, so the environment there was crazy. But LCA has been up there, man, and it's been rocking. So we'll have to make it out there.
We definitely got to go to a Red Wings game. I think UFC event too. I mean, that's That's the
I went
adventure.
to a bare knuckle fight one time.
Bare knuckle.
Yeah,
That you probably could get those tickets. I don't know how much they are.
dude, they were like $50. It was in Biloxi, Mississippi. It was in the bayou, bro. My brother was in the Air Force, so he was stationed down there. It was the most brutal thing I've ever seen. It was awesome, but like those dudes have got to be absolutely wired on many substances. If you go in there, like, they don't flinch. They're just eating knuckles to their jaw and their chin and their nose, and they're just it's what I do. Teeth missing. They're cheering. They're even after they lose, they're like, oh, like nuts.
How much would you need to get in there in a bare knuckle fight? How much would you
against somebody that like is equally matched to me, or against like
we'll do you we won't do you dirty like that. Maybe someone with equal.
Throw me $10.
Oh my gosh, dude!
I'll clean them.
Hey,
what
has the UFC ever came?
No,
to the
I would probably need like 150.
They came once, I think, in the last like decade. And it was for like what was it? I forgot who the fight. Someone in the chat would know. I had the fight. I can't remember who it was, but they came like they don't come often. It's only been like once or twice.
What, you're saying bare knuckle to Detroit?
No, UFC event.
Brother, get over bare knuckle.
I thought we were just talking. I thought Jeff was saying.
Speaking of a guy facing bare knuckle, that's Andrew Van Ginkel. He's 9th on this list.
Dude.
Yeah,
I hope that's who he's talking about. I know who Andrew Van Ginkel is. I don't know a Van Ginkel in the draft. If that's who he's talking about.
No, he's talking about
probably Andrew Van Ginkel. Yeah,
you guys know I'm a Van Ginkel guy. You guys know he's like an Enzo.
Yeah, this is a big pro Van Ginkel podcast. That's we like Van Ginkel. But here's the top 10 edge rushers for free agency. I saw this on 33rd Team. And just because we talk a lot about the guys available, but to see a list of who's actually available, I mean, we've mentioned Bryce Huff on this podcast. We've mentioned Daniil Hunter, Chase Young, somebody that we talked about at the deadline, but still he's available. Is there anybody on this list that kind of catches your guys' eye for the Lions in particular?
I mean,
I
could say
you like
Darius Smith.
2 and 4.
That would be affordable. Like realistic.
Affordable. That's what comes down to me. It's like those top couple guys are going to be expensive. You're going to have to pay some money. So
I'll say it again. Zadarius Smith.
Zadarius
Smith is a monster, and he's played in the division with the Packers and the Vikings. He knows that obviously not the same roster, but he knows a lot of those linemen on there. I know he was hurt this year, but when he was healthy, he was a dog. And that's when Myles Garrett was absolutely lighting up the NFL, because he had Zadarius Smith, a savvy veteran, former Pro Bowler, multi-time Pro Bowler. Zadarius Smith, if they can get him on like $13-14 million deal, that one is putting another bookend edge on this opposite side of Hutch, and it's a defensive end that Hutch can actually pull information from, and like valuable information. The whole defensive line, because Zadarius Smith would be a dog in Detroit.
Yeah, obviously you got 2 and 4. Those are like kind of the big name guys, and those guys are going to go for crazy money, and you don't like expect or even know if Brad Holmes is going to go that angle. But Jadeveon Clowney, I'm not too big of a fan of him, but he really like had a revive season under Mike McDonald. I don't know like what his price tag is going to go for next season, but he kind of brought himself back out the mud with the Ravens.
Hey, I'm still I almost might die on the hill this offseason, and I'm still kind of like on the edge of doing it. But as we get farther into these mock drafts and start looking at some of these, and we've talking to more and more people that come on our show here that are really pretty locked into the draft and kind of have an idea of the, all of the guys that are getting drafted and all the class. I'm almost at the point to where it's like I'm not going to mind paying for a D end, to be honest. Like if one of these top guys want to come to Detroit and you pay them, and I know a lot of people and a lot of fans are like, well, you have to pay some of these other dudes. If there's a way to somehow get like a Chase Young or I don't think you're going to have to pay a Jadeveon Clowney, but like a ton of money. But I don't hate the idea on paying someone, to be honest. I'm starting to fall for it because this edge, like a lot of people are coming out being like, I want another edge rusher on the other side of Hutch. We need someone good. You're not going to get that in the draft this year unless you go up and get like a Jared Verse or something. Like you're just not. Like everyone we've spoke with so far is saying that it's not a deep edge class. So like if you can address the corner in the draft, or you can address different positions, I almost don't hate going after a big time guy. And I know it's going to cost money and might put you in a position, but I kind of trust Brad to go out there and spend the money and allocate it around. I don't know if you guys saw the cap space going up like 30 million or something like that.
Yeah.
Like you can afford a little bit more, and they have so much money to spend. Even after they extend guys, there's so much money they can spend.
Yeah.
Hey,
I wonder.
or go ahead, Jeff. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I wonder, I know we talk a lot about just like trying to project this offseason and see what Brad's going to do. Like, it's not just, what guys fit his price point, but it's also now it's funny. We have to actually take into account, are they a fit? Like for the culture,
Yes.
are they a Brad Holmes, a guy? Like that's a real thing. I don't know if Chase Young's interesting. I know I was advocating for him at the trade deadline. That was one of the things I wanted. But at the end of the day, like he's a free agent. I don't know how much money he would command. I think Jadeveon Clowney returns with the Ravens. That's just my gut. Who knows? I think he'd stay with the Ravens. They're really good this year, so maybe he feels like it's his best chance. Zadarius Smith's interesting though, Lucas. I know Jonathan Greenard he had like 12.5 sacks this year.
Scrappy.
Yeah, and he's looking for, I think he's looking for somewhat of a payday. I feel like the top 5 guys want to get paid. Maybe Bryce Huff. Maybe he's a guy. I think Josh Allen, Brian Burns, Neil Hunter are going to get bags somewhere. Someone's going to pay those guys. Bryce Huff might be somebody that maybe he's a sleeper. You maybe can get him on if he doesn't get what he thinks he deserves, maybe you can get him on like a CJ Gardner-Johnson 1-2 year deal. Like I could see Brad doing that, but I mean, there's interesting names on here. I just don't know which of these guys would be like the right price point. Maybe Zadarius Smith. Maybe that's a guy.
But you could get him.
I don't hate
deal.
I don't hate the Zadarius Smith thing, but he's like coming off 5.5 sacks. Like that's what Aleem McNeil
He had an injury.
He played 16 games though. Like, and I know he might have been hurt.
Like he was like, it was obvious. Like he was balling out, and then he suffered an injury like halfway through the season.
Which is fair. But I mean, like him playing 16 games, having 5.5 sacks. Like to me, it's like I want a guy that's going to produce, and he may produce at. He's 31, 32 years old, but like. If you want someone to produce, you're gonna have to spend a little money, in my opinion. And I do get like maybe getting kind of a middle of the pack guy for cheaper, but like to me at the end of the day, it's like, do you want a bookend or do you just want a guy who's gonna go over there and give you a little something for Hutch? I know we had nothing, so something is better, but I guess
I think Bryce Huff's the most intriguing one because
I like that.
Yeah, because he's kind of a sleeper a little bit. Like I know someone mentioned he didn't start with the Jets, which is like Treves in a rotation, and he played really well. He's played really well. I don't know what he would command, but he's like a guy that, again, like I said, I think you'd be able to get him cheaper, much cheaper than Daniil, Brian Burns, and Josh Allen. So
yeah.
Real quick, Gentry Booner, did Uche play with Hutch at Michigan? Because Uche went to Michigan, didn't he?
Yeah.
He's 25. I would guess. Maybe
I don't know if they played together, but
I mean, because he's had injury problems in the past, and we know Brad loves going for guys with injuries because Uche's not going to be much at all. So maybe if him and Hutch, I don't think he'd be like a bookend to Booner's point. Like I don't think he'd be a guy that solves a lot of problems, but I think he definitely helps.
If you're going to pay someone, I would just go out and pay Daniil Hunter. Like someone keeps saying in the chat, you steal him from a divisional opponent. And when you're talking about a guy like Zadarius Smith, unless you get him on like a favorable deal, like I'm not even going out and getting him. Like obviously he had the injury, which may have slowed him up a little bit, but he's playing alongside Myles Garrett and he's still only putting up 5.5 sacks. And as far as Chase Young goes, similar to him, obviously it helped out Bosa a little bit, but there really wasn't that much production on his end. So I don't know. If I'm going out and getting a big dog on there, I'm just going out and getting Daniil Hunter because, it's addition by subtraction. You're stealing him away from one of your division rivals, and you know what he's going to bring. You played against him all those times, and you know what type of impact he makes.
Yeah, he's going to be Daniil Hunter at all. Like, Zadarius Smith, like you don't know, like he had 10 sacks the year before, 5 this year. 5 a couple years ago. Like it's just like a little bit inconsistent to where he might bring it all the time, but like you're still like, are you getting that production every single year? Daniil Hunter, you're gonna get that, and it's like it's gonna be worth the money. So I guess it depends. Like I think all this comes down to like, especially at the edge rusher in the corner, it's like where do you want to allocate your money to? Because you're like, in my opinion, you're gonna have to spend a little bit of money somewhere. Like everyone in like every single Detroit Lions fans talking about getting a bookend with Aiden Hutchinson, and I promise you guys. Maybe Brad, and I do trust Brad. Like if he finds one in the draft, maybe he does because he's found a lot of gems. But as of now, and the people we've spoken with, I don't see you finding that like bookend for Aiden Hutchinson in the NFL draft to where it's like, okay, now we have to kind of, and we've talked about this all the time. It's like, can you get a corner in the draft or you can get an edge? Right now, it's a deeper corner draft than it is edge. So like, let's go corner and let's go spend some money on an edge to bookend Hutch.
Yeah, the biggest like, I guess question to answer as like someone as from us and Lions fans is what approach does Brad have this offseason? Will he surprise us and go drop, a max contract or sign a max deal with a Danielle Hunter? Because if there is one guy that I think is realistic and you can be able to get, it would be a guy like Danielle Hunter. I think maybe Josh Allen. You see the reports too. The Jags are they don't want to re-sign Calvin Ridley because then, of course, you have to give up the second round pick and they have to re-sign Josh Allen. So that would tell me that their priority is to re-sign Josh Allen. So I think he's going back to Jacksonville. I think Danielle Hunter is the best available, worth the buck guy. That would be Danielle. And him and Hutch would just cause problems. So if you're telling me you can sign a max contract, I think we'd all agree it's Danielle Hunter. Now the real question is Brad going to spend that type of money? Which we shall.
We haven't seen yet him do anything yet like that. We've never been in this position with Brad Holmes. That's why it's a kind of an exciting offseason.
Yeah.
No, it really is. I know people are talking in the chat here. I want to get some people's thoughts. Steel tipped cleats. We still have jury out on Houston. He might be the other. We see Zach says Hunter would be a game changer though. Donkey Kong says no, he will not sign a max deal. I see Steve Wild says Josh Allen will be even more than Hunter. Yeah, because Josh Allen's younger, but still, I would take Hunter. I mean,
Josh Allen hasn't even really crossed my mind because of kind of what you said, Jeff. Is I feel like he is going to go back to Jacksonville. It hasn't really crossed my mind him leaving the Jags.
No, but listen, I got a guy here who can help us solve all these questions and help us get answers, and that's the man, the myth, the legend. That's DoseOfDion right here, the boy. Dion, what up, though? Guys, if you know who Dion is, you should. He does Lions content of his stuff, DoseOfDion 2.0. Dion, thank you for joining us, brother. How you doing tonight?
I'm good, man. I'm fired up. Hey, when I joined in here, I saw 4 people. Okay, we're rolling. I like the conversation, man. It looks good in here. The setup is fire. Hey, shout out to StreamYard. I know they've been updating some things, so it's looking good, man. Thanks for having me.
No, dude, it's our pleasure. I want to ask you too. I know you've been grinding too, making content covering the Lions. A lot of questions that we've been trying to answer, and hopefully you can help us get some answers. And we just kind of talked about some of the edge rushers that are available this offseason. What approach do you see Brad doing? What's your gut telling you? Because we know Brad, he's the guy that'll go out and it's not max deals, but it's worth the money. Like a David Montgomery, a CJ Gardner-Johnson. Like he knows how to spend. He knows how to handle the financials. What do you see with his approach this offseason? Do you see the potential in maybe going out and spending big on a guy like Danielle Hunter? Or you think he plays a conservative and makes smart signings, guys that are impactful, maybe like a guy like a Leonard Floyd, for example?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think a lot of the strategy is going to be similar to that in the past. I don't. The major change that I think could actually take place is, one of these veteran players that I don't think we've really seen specifically outside of like when the Michael Brockers was kind of thrown into the deal, where you're talking about the guys that are like, all right, this is like they're trying to go get their ring. So now they're willing to join the Lions. They're maybe taking that 1-year deal. And I think they come at a lot of different spots. You talked about edge rusher, defensive line. I think that could be one of the significant differences we see is outside of just like the 1-year prove it deal because of injury, but they're talented. It's like, if they prove it, we'll resign the guy. Outside of that, I think we could actually see maybe one of those 1-year deals or maybe a 2-year deal go to like a veteran player, kind of looking in that championship window. But I think there will be a couple. I think there will be a couple multi-year deals. I mean, we saw it last season. You brought up a couple, David Montgomery, Cam Sutton. They weren't insane deals, Dave Montgomery, but they were multi-year deals. And I think we'll see a few of those. I know you guys talk about edge rusher, and, I don't know if you want to go into specifics and stuff like that. But for me, I think it's a great spot, especially on the defensive line, where I'm really looking at, okay, there's a couple positions that stand out. It's like, it makes sense to go with a multi-year deal here to get someone that is just going to hold it down. You just don't have to worry about it, especially considering where you're at in the draft.
Yeah, hey, Dion, appreciate you hopping on and joining the show here. This is Booner here. I haven't met you yet, but it's nice to meet you. I've been watching you a long time. I see you on the heavyweights all the time. Quick question with this too, because we have talked about it a lot. And I think one of the biggest things this offseason is going to end up being some of these guys coming back. There's all these free agents that like a Josh Reynolds. Like, do you see Brad moving on from any of these guys, or do you have like a feeling? I think if I remember correctly, you're kind of a Jared Goff guy. So in my opinion, I think he gets extended, and I think a handful of guys end up coming back. But is there any guys like a Graham Glasgow, Josh Reynolds, that you see Brad Holmes kind of just taking a step back and moving on from?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, I am a Jared Goff guy, so I think he'll end up getting his extension. I would say the one that stands out to me the most, where I'm just not sure on, and the chat's saying a little bit, is it's really, well, I see the Josh Reynolds. It's really Jonah Jackson for me, because initially I came in thinking like, nah, we're not bringing back Jonah Jackson. They're going to move on from that. And that's one of those spots where, like, as the process has come along a little bit, I'm like, but it might make sense. Like, I don't think the price tag is going to be super high. I could be wrong on that, but the market for like guard position over the last few years, that's kind of giving you some of that middling play. Plus, he's missed some time. Like, it hasn't gotten crazy. So I'm like, okay, it's kind of a weird balance. I'm trying to figure out where that number is actually going to fall, considering his age. But I do think that Jonah Jackson, to me, feels like the guy that could definitely just not be brought back this offseason. Now, Graham Glasgow, that's another big one. I think he absolutely should be brought back. I would be shocked if, honestly, Graham Glasgow doesn't come back, because even if, like, a crazy scenario, they draft someone and boom, he doesn't have to start, they just know he can play everywhere. So I think he's absolutely coming back, probably on a one-year deal. And then Josh Reynolds, like, I think there's a part that could believe there's a chance that Josh, especially of the way that it finished, it did not end on the highest note. And maybe it's the DJ Chark situation, I guess a little bit different, where because he already got extended once, where it was like, oh man, okay, we'd love to have him back, but he's going out there and someone's willing to just give him a lot more money where his age is at. This makes sense the last time to kind of get like a really legitimate deal. It feels like he's also coming off of one of his best statistical seasons, even though it's not crazy. And the wide receiver market's exploding. So it could make sense that someone just overpays him. You know, they just like, I'll just give him too much money because he showed up in the playoffs really outside of the San Fran game. But to me, I would be surprised by that. I really would. I don't think Josh is going to get overpaid. I don't think he's just looking for the dollar amount. Could be wrong, but I think he really likes his fit within this offense, and obviously the Lions do too. He just fits so seamlessly. I just don't see them letting that guy out of the building. Jonah Jackson's the one that I circled, though, because, yeah, I'm with you. I think a lot of this offseason is going to be extensions and bringing guys back, but there's always a surprise, and to me that feels like it's going to be Jonah if there is one.
Real quick, what about CJ Gardner-Johnson? You have anything on? What are your thoughts on that? That's a big free agent one. I think that's like the biggest one.
Right. Okay. Well, I want to hear where you guys are at on that one, because for me personally, like, I would have no issue bringing CD Deuce back. I would have no problem with it. And I think a big part of that for me is mainly the fact that he didn't really play. Like, the fact that it seemed like he couldn't get that multi-year deal this last offseason. So he signed here. He fit, right? We put him at safety. He had just played safety. He played well at Philly. And it was like, okay, this makes sense. This is a great fit for him. But then he missed so much time. Like, his number is not going up after this year. I mean, even he finished, by the way, he finished a Kansas City game really well. He almost kind of in a way got us off the field, won that football game. And then it maybe wasn't the best finish against San Fran. But because he missed so much time, I'm like, who's now going to offer him a multi-year deal? Like, what team is now going to look at that and say, this is the time to do it? So to me, it's like, if anything, that dollar amount just might drop. And I think Tracy Walker is one of those players, whether that comes by pay cut, maybe it's a surprise cut, but he's one of those guys that there could be some real movement there with. And if that happens, I would love to have CD Deuce back, just because to me, he fits this team well and he brings flexibility, even though we didn't really see it last season.
Yeah, no, I mean, most of us are in lockstep with that. We've heard some rumblings that it's not going to be that way. But Dion, nice talking to you again. I know we've chatted on heavyweights a couple of times. Shout out to Easy and Spencer. But you brought up Josh Reynolds a little bit. We had Scott Bischoff on the other day, and he brought up the fact that Brad Holmes in the draft, like Jahmyr Gibbs at 12, Jack Campbell at 18. All of us were like, where the hell is that coming from? He brought up the possibility of Brad looking at a wide receiver in the draft, say they move off of Josh Reynolds. So if they move off of Josh Reynolds, do you think they would replace him with a veteran? Or do you think in the draft, especially with how Brad is hitting the draft with Amon-Ra St. Brown in the 4th round, do you think that they would kind of put that as a need in the draft as well? Which way do you think they'd go, I should say?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good question. I think if Josh Reynolds left, I would expect another draft pick there. Now, I mean, I don't know how high they're on Antoine Green just based on where they took him. I know for me, it was like, he feels kind of raw when he came out. He makes some big plays, but he feels super raw, and we saw him a little bit. They kind of sprinkled him in. But to me, the fact that they extended Khalif Raymond before the season and got him back, it felt like once we lost Khalif, like the addition of Donovan Peoples-Jones came very important. Not even just because him playing, it was just like, now we have depth on the outside. Like, we needed that. If Khalif never gets hurt, like, it feels like that's a whole different situation there when you're talking about, oh, do we have the depth, things like that. So now that you have Khalif on board, if Josh Reynolds is gone, I would expect that the Lions will probably add somebody in free agency, but I wouldn't expect a big dollar amount. That would surprise me. I would say it's much more likely that they would go early in the draft and draft another top receiver, just because of kind of where the league is going and where teams are paying that. It's like, hey man, you want to get a deal. It's not a bad thing to draft a wide receiver early, especially towards the end of the 1st round. We've gotten some of the best receivers in the league right there. So I would say it'd be more likely that it'd be an early draft pick than a big free agent signing. But yeah, I think if Josh Reynolds is gone, I think absolutely there's going to be a draft receiver somewhere.
Dion, thanks for joining us again. Obviously, we have a few positions to address defensively, one being cornerback. Do you think they go out and sign a cornerback one, or do you think they believe in Cam Sutton? And if so, if they do go out and sign a guy, who do you think that could be?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I like Cam Sutton, and it was weird because when we signed Cam Sutton, I honestly thought the dude was going to play in the slot the whole time. I was like, yo, he don't look like an outside corner. I remember getting heat for that. And I'm not trying to, I'm not like, oh, dang, I was right. He was like, I don't feel that way. I just feel like there's just legitimate limitations, and you know what those are, so that's okay. But to me, it may draw similarities to me, right? We just added a new defensive back coach, and it draws similarities in a way to what I feel like I don't know if I want to say the LA. I can't think of the team now. The team that had Darius Williams and Tyson Campbell, that would be Jacksonville. So what they do with Darius Williams and Tyson Campbell, to me, I feel similarities there, where this is that opportunity to say, okay, for me personally, I mean, if it's a high draft pick, fine at corner, but I think the Lions will probably sprinkle in both unless the scenario happens where they trade a draft pick for a current NFL cornerback. Like if they do that, they may not touch it at all in the draft. But I expect that if there's a signing here, and I think that there should be, I don't think it'll be top of the market, but I think we'll see another similar deal to what they've tried to give out, like Mosley and Adoree Jackson. Maybe it's a little bit more than that, but I just don't see him going big money at corner opposite of Cam Sutton, who's one of their bigger deals, especially on the last couple of years of this contract. Though, I mean, maybe there's a little bit of an out next year. But I expect them to kind of go like that route, short-term kind of one cornerback, and then they come back in the draft. And again, I may be alone. I don't know what the outside. You guys can tell me how you guys feel about this. But for me personally, I think there's good depth at corner in this draft from what I've seen. I like how deep I feel that cornerback can get in day 2 specifically. So because of that, like I wouldn't have an issue of like, all right, sign a 1-year deal. Maybe it's Mosley again. Probably not. I like Adoree Jackson. I think he could fall similarly sort of in that range, right? When you look at his age, he can play. He's had to miss time, but not like that. I'm like, okay, that's interesting to me. And then you come back in the draft, let's draft one, because that's like the one position we really haven't gotten the building to just develop is cornerback. And I think the type of cornerback to me has to be a guy that offsets Cam Sutton. It has to be a guy that offsets his strength. Even if it's not like you're looking at it like that was 29, he's our number 1. It's just got to be a guy. And I heard someone say in the background, it's got to be a guy that like brings a little bit more of like okay, he can get up on the line a little bit though. He's comfortable getting up and pressing, right? Being a little more physical at the line, though he can still play the same way schematically. He just offsets the skill set because those two guys worked in Jacksonville. We were like, Darius Williams ain't that big, but Tyson Campbell, like he's physical. So you got a good offset there. I think the Lions would aim for something similar to this offseason.
We're joined by DoseOfDion. You can check his stuff out. DoseOfDion 2.0 on YouTube. If most of you probably subscribed to him already, he's crushing it. Dion, I appreciate you for joining us. I want to ask you, you're going to put on your Brad Holmes hat. I know you got a hat on. So you're Brad Holmes in this scenario. All right. You got the first round pick. What's your approach? Because we've had this too, the trading up versus trading back, staying put, who's there, all those types of discussions. What would you like Brad to do? And I know we all trust Brad, but regardless, you're Brad Holmes in this scenario. You think, because I believe, at least for this draft, it's quality over quantity for me, for draft picks. I think quality draft picks, trading up, getting Brad's guys, rather than a trading back and getting more and more picks. Where are you at? What would you do if you're Brad with that first round pick? And maybe what position would you try and target?
Yeah, man, that's a tough one. It's a tough one for me because, like, and I don't know if we were going to talk about free agency anymore, but like, to me, with the free agency spot, there's a couple positions where to me it's like, oh, that makes sense. Like if you're gonna do the multi-year deal, do it there. For me at the draft, though, I think what you said is perfect, and I don't want to like be like the dude that comes on here. It's like just take best player available. I don't want to do that. All right, I'm not gonna do that. But because like, okay, that's great. Who is that? For me, I really am like I'm trying to keep open to everything. Like, hey, maybe off-ball linebacker. Like you said, they drafted Jack Campbell. What if they did it again? Moved on from Alex. Like, I think that's going to happen. It feels like to me, it's like, okay, either it's going to be cornerback. You guys do receiver. I kind of like that. It's a little wrinkle, especially Josh is gone. Or it's going to be an edge defender, or it's going to be a guy that can play on the offensive line and move around a little bit, especially, like we said, if Jonah's not back. Wouldn't have an issue with that. Because to me, for a lot of positions, once you get to 29, you would hope that they could start, but there's still a lot of guys at 29 that you're like, they're not ready. Like they're rotational, especially depending on the position. So even if I take a corner at 29 and then I sign one, like that signed guy could be the starter and he just might need a little bit of time. We've seen that, definitely seen it at edge. Think Charles Harris, right? He went right after Jared Davis. Dude was not ready right away. So like just because round one, they are not, this could be a round 2 guy that they think that the draft and if they don't move up, so to me, like I don't know exactly where I want the Lions. I'll say this. My number 1 need is cornerback. So to me, if we brought everybody back, we need a cornerback. Doesn't have to be our highest pick, but to me, the number 1 need is cornerback. So if we don't sign one, I would like to draft one kind of early. And I think there's some really strong options up there. I mean, look, I don't know. I've been trying to stay away from mocks best possible. I don't know where Cooper DeJean's falling, but I'm like, yo, that dude's awesome. And then I've just watched a dude out of Georgia slip in my mind for some reason right now.
Lattister, I think.
Yes. I'm like, okay, this dude's kind of
Lattister.
nice too. Yeah, and I'm like, he could fit schematically. So I think there's some nice pieces there. Then also recently, because I haven't seen as many D line that have popped to me here, definitely a lot of O linemen. And I think if you're willing to say, hey, take a tackle, move him to guard, or if you're willing to say, move center to guard, right? Like you can get real flexibility there, especially if you get a tackle, because Taylor Decker's got 1 year left. But the other one that really stands out that could be strong there is kind of that edge defender position a little bit. That's just a weird one for me because I think it can be addressed in free agency, if at all. So to me, like that's one of those spots where, especially where again, it's like, okay, he doesn't have to immediately take over, but then you have there's so many different styles that are going to be there. Like you can go from, the bendy man, he can just get around the edge, 250 pounds. You can get the Chop Robinsons, and then you can go to the big Darius Robinsons, and you can keep working down the list. And there's just so many different options. I think that'll be sitting there at that spot. That's the area where I'd be keeping my eye on. It's not even my top need, but I'd be looking there because I think it's very heavy at that spot in the draft.
Hey, real quick, Dion, too. You've mentioned the free agency a couple times. Do you have a guy that you're not hearing people talk about a lot in free agency, or someone that's like at the top of your board? Like I know you said Adoree Jackson. Is there someone up there that no one's talking about, and you're like, I want him in Detroit this year? Like he's going to add a great piece of this defense, or anything like that. Is there a guy no one's talking about that you want?
Mike Evans. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, no.
No, it's not Mike Evans. I mean, look, man, I probably say this. I probably joined, and you guys literally just talked about this player for 30 minutes. So I'm gonna do that. No, Andrew Van Ginkel is the dude to me. And I don't know what you're talking about. I'm telling you, if Andrew Van Ginkel is just a lion at heart, but you take into consideration his age, the way that he popped this last season, like he reminds me a lot of the Charles Harris extension that we gave out. Like if he got a similar deal here, I'd be like, okay, that makes sense. That guy to me just fits so well. And at the same time, it's like, all right, best case scenario, I'm bringing James back for sure, exclusive rights deal. And it's like, even if those guys pop, I can still find a role for this guy. He won't break the bank because I don't think he's like an elite pass rusher that can ask for that much money. But he can do so much. He can run, defend at a high level. His coverage gives you so much flexibility. He's a smart football player, which I think we really lacked at times, that guys that could just play on a line of scrimmage as a Sam backer and know what to do. Like at the beginning of the season, it was an absolute mess. So I can understand if they said we got Barnes, we got James, we don't need to go down that road. And the flip one would be interior defensive line. And I think there's so many options that range here, from veterans like we touched on, Fletcher Cox, you want to throw him into that mix, all the way up to the big deals and Chris Jones if he's available. But to me, it's Grover Stewart, man. I've been a big Grover Stewart guy.
Hey, Dion,
we talked about him on this show a couple times.
About
You're
it?
the
There you go.
man.
Hey, that's why I'm here.
Man,
That's why I'm here.
We want Big Grove here.
Absolutely. He's the dude. He's that dude. And it's like, okay, he missed some time, but as soon as he got back to Indy, it was like, oh, okay, this defensive line's different. Like this defensive line was really good for Indy. But as soon as you put that guy back in here, and he could be perfect, because it's like, okay, I don't want to put someone right in front of Broderick because I could understand where they're like, man, down the road, wait till Broderick, he's going to pop and we got our guys on the roster. I get that. But if it's like a 2-year deal, you're not completely overstepping. But then also on top of that, it's like, bro, just make him rotational. Because to me, the thing is Grover Stewart coming off maybe his best pass rush season. He's been a big time run defender, right? He brings the length that they love for an interior guy. You plug him in. Now I don't really have questions on the defensive front. I mean, there could be questions about like the Sam backer who can play there consistently, but I'm just the guys that have their hand in the dirt. Your answers are on the roster for sure. Josh Pascal, they believe in him, I believe. Hutchinson, Aleem McNeil, he's going to get an extension. He should, to me. So you put that guy in the mix. It's like, you just cleared up the whole, kind of musical chairs we had going on last year. So to me, Grover Stewart is someone I'm on board with.
You can almost hear Dan Campbell now. Grove.
Yes.
Grove, baby.
Like what you doing in there, Grove?
Hey, I'm so happy to
Detroit Lion guy.
Massive human being. That man.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. I would love that, man. Grover Stewart's an animal.
You got anything, Lucas?
Oh, yeah. So the other thing that I wanted to ask is, when you look at Jackson Powers Johnson, a lot of Lions fans are like, oh, he's going to be there at 29. The Lions can get him. Do you think that I personally think he's a top 20 pick, but do you think there's any way that a guy like that, who has all this noise and how versatile he is, and there's multiple teams that could use him, do you think there's any way he slides to the Lions?
No. I mean, look, man, and it's like, here's the reason I would say that. I could be wrong. Give me some time. My initial grade, I gave him a 6.9. It's the highest grade I've given out yet for a player. And the issue with him is that it's not just that, okay, he has flexibility, right? He played center, okay, but he can move around a little bit. And I don't even think he's the best at just snapping the football in general. He'll have some bad snaps. The issue is he's so darn athletic, right? And I saw a lot of things about like people would talk, man, he's just like running dudes over. But it's like the movement skills are incredible from this guy, especially in today's league. When you talk about all the outside rushing, this guy would thrive, man. You could put him anywhere on the offensive line and he would be incredible. So to me, that kind of athlete, you know how they always feel like they value athletes at the top for offensive line. It's like, oh, the FBI guys, when we get to day, we want the smart dude. But in day one, it's like, okay, we need a freaky athlete. To me, he falls into that category on the interior. And I think the value of center is coming around. Like people are like, okay, that's valuable. Anybody that can play on the interior anywhere. So no, I don't think he's going to 29. I mean, I'd be on board, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah. I think we all would be, but it was just driving me wild. Just see it, like people are like, he'll be there. I'm like, no, he's not. There's no.
He feels like a guy Lions fans are starting to really fall in love with, and it's hey, it might not be that realistic. Let's not fall too much in love, unless they trade up. But it doesn't feel realistic.
Dion, kind of to piggyback off of Lucas's question there, the offensive line, how do you think that actually shakes out? Do they bring back Jonah Jackson or do they bring back Graham? And if they don't, how do you think they go about replacing those guys?
Yeah, to me, I think you have to bring back Graham Glasgow. I mean, I would try to get back Graham Glasgow because the only thing would be that he already has like I think it's like 1.4 million because of the void year. So it's like, all right, that kind of in a way just adds on to it. But like just because he can play all positions alone, he's someone that's like priority. Get this guy back in the building. I don't think he'll still push a passive number. And there's limitations, but he fits so well. But to me, honestly. And I was way off of this at the beginning. I didn't feel this way. I think both of them come back. I think they re-sign both of these players, and I think that they value kind of why we're talking about a center. I mean, we're looking at this offensive line. Most people would be like, "Yo, this offensive line, they don't need to touch that." And we're talking about drafting a center in the first round. Like, are you dudes great? Like, you're going to draft another dang offensive lineman to tie along with all of your other first round picks? But that's to me how Brad Holmes values this team as well. I mean, anytime Dan Campbell has a chance to talk about how this offensive line is built, it's built through the trenches, right? So to me, absolutely, I think they both come back because the value that they bring is there's so much flexibility in the run game. And when Jonah Jackson gives you that, and he said it immediately when Jonah came back, like he gives us athleticism. To me, that's a year ago, we're one of the heaviest pulling offensive lineman teams. This year, it's like, oh, here comes the zone rushing now. But it's the issue is we can go into any game and then do any scheme we want. So if we feel like you're weak at this, we'll do this. Just like the San Fran game, for example. And I think that's the problem that they currently are giving teams. And it's why I think they'll prioritize getting those guys both back. I think they'll end up both back here. And I don't think Jonah's deal will like break the bank on it. I think it falls like $8-9 million a year. Could be way off, but I think it does.
Great stuff, Dion. Man, we appreciate you for taking the time. Working overtime for us. So we thank you for that. You can check Dion out, of course, Dose of Dion 2.0
Appreciate you,
on
Dion.
YouTube. Follow him on Twitter, Dose of Dion there as well, or X, whatever the hell it is. Dion, you're talented. We appreciate you, man. You're a dude, man.
Hey, okay. I appreciate y'all having me, man. Thanks for having me, man. I'll see y'all soon, hopefully.
Yes, sir. Let's do it again. There you go. Dose of Dion, the man, the myth, the legend, taking time out of his day to join the fellas, man. He crushed as always. I told you, man.
Great. That was
Grover
great.
Stewart signs in Detroit. We're bringing him on.
Oh, 100% Big Grove, baby.
Is
Gotta
it
do the victory lap?
Is it just me, or is the last two guests we've had spoke right to Lucas?
Yeah. I feel like it just keeps happening.
Like the Grover Stewart. I mean, come on.
That was
You
perfect.
can't make that up. And then Scott Bischoff, Lad McConkey. I mean, you can't make this up. They're like, it's like right
the
in
lad
Lucas's
thing
wheelhouse,
was
man.
funny.
I love
Lad's
that,
gonna
man.
be in Lucas's draft. I can already see it, or his mock rather.
I wish he was there. I wish he
He
was,
was there.
Unfortunately, he was not.
Dang.
In the first
That's
round, he was. I'm not taking no wide receiver in the first round. You have a top 5 offense already.
No. Well, again, shout out to Dion. We appreciate him for taking time, man. Seriously, we'll have him on again. We have to. He's great.
Hey,
Same with Scott and all those guys.
quick Dion story real quick. When I first started at Woodward, where we were before, like I first started getting into the Lions stuff, my dad texted me and Dion went on like the morning show, I think. My dad texted me, he was like, dude, I've been watching this guy on not the morning show, but in his network, and he sent me it, and it was just Dose of Dion. He said, I've been watching him for 5 years. And it was Dose of Dion. And I was like, oh, he comes on the Woodward shows all the time. Great guy, man. He's been grinding for a long time. I didn't realize that until a couple years ago. And my dad texted me. He was like, I've been watching him for like 5 years. And I was like, oh, wow. I didn't realize, man. He's great. Great at what he does. Make sure you go check him out.
Yeah, he does his homework, man.
Yeah.
He does. He knows his stuff. We're gonna get to mock drafts in a second here for everyone that's tuning in. Stick around because it's our first time ever doing it. Each person on the panel, all the fellas made their own individual mock draft. So, and no one's seen. I haven't seen anyone's mock. Like I loaded them in, but I haven't looked at them. So we're gonna see each of ours for the first time, and the people are gonna see each of ours for the first time. So, hey, we get roasted, we get praise. That's what we sign up for, man.
Can we just say what it is with these mocks, though, fellas? Like, even though the fan ones we did a couple days ago, it's like when they come in and like when you go on PFF and do these, so many random people drop and so many random people go, and it's like you just never get like an accurate. And I guess that's just the way the draft goes. Like, there's guys that could go top 20 and end up going in the third round out of nowhere. Like, and when I did mine, I'm like, how is this guy available here? Or like, how is this guy not available for me right now? It's just everyone's different. That's why I love the mock drafts, man.
Yeah, I had a few crazy people drop on mine, and after looking at yours, Booner, I know we'll get to it later. One of your guys dropped. It got sent in the group chat, so it's fair game. But
when I saw it,
one of your guys dropped to me too, so it was it was wild.
So what's going on?
I'm doing these randomly, so I don't.
Ooh, here we go.
I don't know exactly whose is whose, but I'm going to put the first one up, and then the person's just going to have to speak up. All right.
Better know your draft. Booner's going to be like, oh.
No, I know mine. Mine is a beautiful draft. I think if this happens.
So first on the panel to show off their mock draft. This is a 4-round mock draft. We didn't do 7. Yep. It's too much explaining why you took someone at 210. Like, we're not doing that. So we're doing 4 rounds. The meat and potatoes, like I say, what everyone cares about, the first 4 rounds. I know, hey, there's studs past that, but the first 4 rounds is what matters. Here's the first one. Whose is that?
Oh, that's mine. Let's go.
All right, Booner, break it down for us.
All right. I mean, I don't think there's much to break down. I think this draft, like if this happened, I think I texted Jeff after I did this. I said, hey, if this draft happens, I think everyone in Detroit would be like, give me that all day long. At least
no, T'Vondre Sweat was a D- in the second round, Booner.
But T'Vondre Sweat, every single mock draft you see right now, T'Vondre Sweat he's going in the 30s and he's going in the 40s. So at 29, and I'm gonna make this very, very well known as well. There were no other really good corners available to get taken the first round besides Ennis Rakestraw. Obviously it's an 8 there. Like Kool-Aid's gone. All these guys are gone. And when I took him in my head, I already knew in my head I wanted T'Vondre Sweat. I love T'Vondre Sweat. We've talked about him on the show a million times. T'Vondre Sweat was Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year. He is an absolute animal, and he's very underrated. PFF is wrong, by the way. A D- and him being 90 in the big board is wrong.
Yeah,
that is dead wrong. Go to every single mock. Getting him, I traded up to 55. Getting him at 55 is a steal. He is literally going in like the top 30 in or top 40. I mean, like 30 to 40 in every single mock draft that you can see. So getting T'Vondre Sweat at 55 is a steal. Braylon Trice getting him at 73 in round 3. I thought that was an app. The fact that he was still there, he's a guy that's going in the second and third as well. He was still there. And I see people saying C+, D+. Listen, I promise you, if this draft happens, this would be the best case scenario for the Detroit Lions to go get Ennis Rakestraw, T'Vondre Sweat, and Braylon Trice. Like, those are all top 3 round guys that you're getting in the first, second, and third round. So that's kind of where I went. And then obviously we've talked about Mahogany a lot. Christian Mahogany, just in adding that offensive lineman in there. But I just think the fact that T'Vondre Sweat got to 55 and Braylon Trice got to 73 was just like, I got a B+ in the PFF. I think it gives it an A right away. Like, in my opinion, like just looking at that, like that's an A to me. That's not even like bias or anything. I was shocked. I was absolutely shocked.
I was appalled.
Yeah.
I text Jeff and I'm like, dude, like I think something's wrong with my PFF. I got T'Vondre Sweat at 55 and Braylon Trice at 73. This isn't real. Like, there's no way that just happened.
So I'll say this. So positionally, I love it. I don't know, like, if we're going to go into, like, and you traded back, too, I think, right? Yeah, you did.
Traded
up, excuse me. Traded up and gave away a 5th-round pick. And then you got T'Vondre. Yeah, I love the positions. I don't know if, I'm going to be honest, like, I would like to know who was there for Ennis Rakestraw. I don't know if I like Ennis Rakestraw, man, Junior.
I don't either. Not a big fan.
I don't know yet. I have to watch more tape. No one, you said?
No one. Like, name someone, gone.
Yeah, 29 was really tough, honestly. It was the hardest of the picks, in my opinion.
Whatever happened with my mock draft, all the guys I wanted at 29, gone. Every corner, I was going to go corner at 29 no matter what, all gone. There was no big names.
I don't hate your draft at all, Booner. Like, I think it's a B+ A- draft. I'm just with Jeff. Like, if if I was at 29, you'll see like I did something differently than that just because I was like, no, I'm not just gonna take a guy to take a corner just because I need a corner type of thing. I'm not saying I don't think he's terrible, but it's just if it's not a lockdown corner like that, I think you're gonna get there at 29. I don't think it's worth it because they're gonna add somebody in free agency.
For sure.
Yeah.
I think this real quick. I'm sorry, Gentry. This right here, the question on number 2 and 3. I think number 2 and 3 make this draft the best of the draft. To be honest, like the number 2 and 3 is literally getting a Devondre Sweat at 55 and Braylon at 73. Is if you got that in this year's draft, you would gushing.
What do you think, Gentry?
Oh no, I like it too. I was gonna say the only reason I wouldn't have gone corner so early is like Lukas said. I think we do sign one in free agency, and like Dion said, there's a lot of depth in the draft, so you can kind of get one of those later and kind of address one of your bigger needs. Maybe if it's defensive edge or interior offensive line, kind of grab one of those round 1 guys that maybe slip to you.
Yeah, like I said, positionally, Boone, like you nailed it. And honestly, I like the players like Braylon Trice.
Positionally, 100%.
Yeah, like Devondre Sweat. You addressed corner, defensive line, edge, and guard. Like in just the first 4 rounds. Like I love that. So
thank you guys. What grade are you guys giving it?
I'll give it a
B+.
Go ahead, Jeff.
I was gonna say B+. The only reason why I won't give you an A is because I'm a personal bias. I'm not sure on Rakestraw. That's the only thing.
I just didn't know what to do there.
Yeah, and that's fair. Hey, I don't.
Fair.
I think we all kind of struggle with that too. I'll give you like a B+, A-. B+, A-.
Which one, Jeff? You got to pick one.
B+ because of Rakestraw.
I'll give you the A- Boone.
All right, thank you. A-.
That's
B+,
why
B+.
you asked.
Yeah, and easy.
Kind of one
You
up.
wanted to jump
One
on
up
him.
him.
Easy even said it. Getting him in the third is crazy. Like I'm telling you guys, when I saw that, I was like, oh my gosh.
That's Lucas's boy too.
Yeah.
He had the tape on him early.
I want to see what you guys did because I would like to see who was available at 29 for all 3 of you because I literally had no one and it was almost to where, okay, that was what we talked about earlier a couple weeks ago. It's like, okay, if there's no one there that you like really love, do you just trade back? Like there was some offensive lineman I could have gone, no one that I'm like familiar with. And I was like, oh, I love that guy. So I'm like, okay, do you trade back from 29 in that case? Or do you just stay there and take Rakestraw a position of need? Or what do you do? Because the value wise, there's nothing really just made sense in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
What up, Coach Walk? Coach Walk just joined.
Shout out, legend.
Let's go, Coach Walk. Absolute
Coach Walk,
legend.
You just missed Dion. If you want to rewind or watch it after, Dion joined the show for about 20 minutes or so. So shout out to him again because he crushed. But he just got done. Let's go to the next mock draft. All right, we got done with Booners. Booner did a great job. Nailed the positions, what the Lions need to address. And it's also hard, Boone, because we don't know who they're going to – like it sucks before free agency because – you don't know what positions they're going to go address. And so I get it. It is like a very early time to do these. But, hey, that's where we're at, boys. Let's go to the next one. Whose is this?
Well, this ain't mine.
Jeff, you said you didn't know the order, and then you put them in the order that they were sent to you. But either way, and I saw Easy's comment. He said, "Real men don't trade in mock drafts." First, when I did this, I didn't know that we were doing trades. But either way,
you could trade. You could trade.
I asked. They're like,
mine was done. Lucas, you did yours 10 minutes before the show. Mine was done.
Time out. Let's end the narrative of not trading. Brad Holmes is our GM. Let's end that real fast.
It's a mock draft.
But we have Brad Holmes. He's traded in every single draft he's ever been in.
Okay. All right.
Well,
see what I'm saying, boys?
Gentry, go ahead.
Killed it too, Gentry.
I addressed edge on here. I addressed what I think my biggest need is, getting someone alongside Aiden Hutchinson. I draft the best edge available. Booner, I was kind of in the same spot as you. I was looking at all the corners, and I just couldn't find one that really, was that much better than all the other guys that I think you can get later on in the draft. Then I go Christian Haynes. I draft the best interior offensive lineman available at that point. Kind of just stack up the offensive line, get some guys. Who knows what you're doing with Jonah, like we alluded to, and all these other guys. And then Booner, I got Sweat. I didn't have to trade up for him at 73. And then our boy Chris Abrams, Scott brought him up earlier on in the week. I think he's got a lot of value for getting him that late. I was deciding between him and Max Melton, but I kind of addressed like the 4 big positions of need, like Jeff kind of alluded to with Booner's mock draft. But yeah, give me a grade.
Like it, Gentry. I'll give it a B. I'll give it a B+ for sure since Sweat was in the third. My thing is Christian Haynes is just iffy for me. That's the only one that I'm like, I don't know if I like Braswell. Don't love it. I think in the second, if he was there, that'd been good. But you don't miss at all by any means. Like I'd be walking out of this draft happy.
Yeah. It's like I said, it's like when you look at players, certain players versus needs, like all I know is the Lions need a corner, a defensive lineman, an edge, and a guard. So Gentry, this is perfect for me. I saw some people talking about Chris Braswell. I like Chris Braswell a lot. I don't know. Again, like this is why mocks are so wrong. Like we forget last year, guys that were projected, second, third round. Like Campbell was always in these mocks, remember in the second round. And then you always got like a D form when you took him in the first round, but now he went in the first round. So I don't even look at, Braswell typically is there in the second. Like, look at the player. I like Braswell a lot. So I like the player.
That's why
I don't know about Christian Haynes. That's more Lucas, but Devondre Sweat, Chris Abrams, that's who Scott brought up, right?
Yeah.
So I like it, Gentry.
Yeah, in the third round, that's huge. And like you said, Jeff, it's weird. Like I'm gonna give it a B as well because Devondre Sweat in the third round is a steal. Like that's like that makes the draft. And again, like every mock draft you see now, that's why everything's so like weird and iffy. It's like every mock draft you see, Devondre Sweat's a second round pick now. So like if you get him in the third somehow, and he's one of those guys that does fall, and you can get him at your 73rd pick, like I think it's I think it's a steal.
I was shocked when I was just like, obviously I was going to defensive tackle like with this pick and seeing him available and some of the other guys, I just was shocked. Like you said, we've been doing mocks all week and he's been kind of lower 40s, 30s, and to get him there at 70, I couldn't pass up on it. So
yeah, I would give you, if I had to give you a grade, I like that you went edge in the first. I like that you went edge in the first, Mike, and that gives you bonus points. I'll go, because if I go higher than Booner, he's gonna be mad at me. A minus. I'll go A minus just because of Rakestraw, man. That's the only reason. I'm not a fan of Rakestraw, but I'm gonna give Mike an A minus because I like that he went edge. He got Devondre Sweat. The thing is, I don't know if Chris Abrams drained. At least you got him at 92. So if he's like, at least he's in the third round. But yeah, I like the draft. I do. I'll give you an A minus.
Booner's got a chip on his shoulder now.
No,
Lucas,
I just always know Jeff always will grade someone one above me. He's done it forever. He's done it forever, dude. I've known Jeff for years now. Done a lot of shows with him. He's always Booner sets the tone. Everyone else, boom. I'm just joking. I love you, Jeff.
I did call that. I did call this happening.
Lucas is going to give me a lower grade. Just to.
I already said B plus. I said B plus.
Yeah. There.
I said B, and then I was like, actually, no way. You got Sweat in the third.
Okay.
Sweat in the third is unbelievable.
I said the only thing keeping from an A is Christian Haynes. That's me.
So it's kind of like me with Rakestraw. Like it's like the one guy you kind of. What about you, Gentry? Excuse me, Booner. What about you, Booner? What grade would you give Gentry?
I gave it like a B plus. I think it's right there as well. I think it's like
one.
I'll go B plus. I'll switch it to a B plus because of Devondre Sweat in the third. I just don't think like he goes in the third too. Like I purposely in my draft traded up because I knew I wanted him. Like I was like I have to get up to 55 to get him. Like because he's gonna go from 35 to 55. Like that's his range. So that's why I traded up to do it. So he got him in the third. I give him that one.
All right, so it's me and Lucas. Hey, I'll go next, Lucas.
I already know I'm gonna get the lowest grade.
Really?
Look at this. You're gonna get the highest grade. People. There's people out there who like they'll see.
There's a polarizing.
Oh, Lucas. Oh, Lucas. Hey.
Don't be a hater.
No,
the people know.
No, hey, the people are fair. Hey, if they give me an F, I'll get in the lab. I'll do better. All right,
Lucas, you're already getting A minuses and A's.
Let's see.
There it is.
Let's see. So you traded up.
I traded with Cincinnati or with the Steelers because I know that Woke Sports. This is powered by Woke Sports. There's a chance that Jackson Powers Johnson could have fell to 29, and I'm not going to be sitting there acting like that. So I was like, "What's a realistic trade?" And I think I've been saying he's the top 20 pick, so I went to 20 and I got him. I think that alone a solid start to the draft. I think it's a great start. Braylon Trice, like you guys were talking about, if he's there at pick 61, that is a steal. I know he's not going to be the best at the combine, but if you just watch this man, in my opinion, he screams George Karlaftis. And my favorite pick of the draft right here. Shout out Steve Smith. I got in my lab. Malachi Corley is a demon. Malachi Corley is a Dan Campbell, Brad Holmes type of guy. And you want to talk about adding a wrinkle to this offense? Because in my opinion, I'm a big Grover Stewart guy. I think they address the interior of the defensive line in free agency just because it's a cheap position to fill compared to an edge. You put Malachi Corley next to Amon-Ra St. Brown and J-Mo with Sam Laporte in the middle, no one's sniffing that. Absolutely no one. He can run through all three levels of the field. If you want to be like, receiver the third, go watch Malachi Corley tape. And finally, Max Melton, because I've been preaching about Stephon Gilmore signing a veteran guy. If you bring in Max Melton with Cam Sutton, I think that gives you a very solid cornerback room. And with great safety play, really good linebacker play, and you improve that defensive line, I think this is a good draft. I know it could be polarizing, but I think Brad Holmes has shock factor. And I think trading up, getting a wide receiver like that in the third round, I'm not saying he's going to do exactly that, but I could see something like this playing out.
Okay, so I'll say this. Number one, trading up and getting JPJ A+++ extra plus squared. So I like that move. That's a hell of a move. Braylon Trice, love it. Malachi Corley, it's funny today. It's funny that you have him in your mock because today I was watching him. That was one guy I watched, and he has the most TD, or one of the most. He's in like the top 3 TDs in the last 3 years. He's up there in receptions. He's up there in yards after catch. He calls himself, I think in his bio, is the Yak King. So he's a slot receiver, but he's got more explosive potential to be more of a guy.
He runs through people's face.
Yeah.
Like he's like 5'9", 5'10", but he plays like he's 6'3". And that to me is what shows that's potential. That's potential.
Now, let me give you the other side. The only thing I don't like in again, this is what's odd about 4 rounds, because like we don't know what happens the rest of the draft. Like this position could be addressed, but interior defensive line, which maybe you said they sign a defensive tackle. That's the only thing. Maybe they get a Grover Stewart. Maybe like this is kind of
that's in my head. I'm just like, I'm gonna go with this. Doesn't fit
that's
my
fair. That's fair. That'd be my only like.
It's fair.
You know,
I knew I was going to get some pushback.
But I love the players. I mean, I love the players. I mean, I don't hate this at all. You gave up a second, but you go get a dude. Quality over quantity. I've been saying that, so I'm with you.
I think Malachi Corley, outside of Mohamed Kamara, is my favorite player in this draft.
Yeah,
he might be number 1 for me.
I'll give it an A.
I'll give you a B+. I like the JPJ pick a lot. Obviously, I didn't know that we were doing trades, so I'll give you a pass for that. But I am a little butthurt about that. I would have cooked up. But Braylon Trice, I do like that. I'm not too hip on the wide receiver. I'll admit I haven't watched too much tape on him, so I can't really tell if that's a reach or whatnot, or if that's a good spot for him. But obviously, love Max Melton. I was deciding with him or between him and Abrams for my last pick. So I love that one. I'll give you a B+.
What about you, Boone?
I'm gonna give him an A-. I like Jackson Powers Johnson. I like if he gets on the team. Like I'm a Jackson Powers Johnson fan. I don't think it happens. I think it's again like even if I think it's unrealistic for them to trade up and go get him. I don't see it happening. I know all of Detroit wants it, but I'll give him A-. If we got this draft, I would like it. The defensive interior. As long as they get someone in free agency, I like it.
Mm-hmm. Easy chiming in. Don't you trades, Mike? Be a man. And to be fair, we will have so many of these by the time the draft starts that like we'll have ones where we don't trade. It's gonna be like so many different variations. So moving forward, Mike, Justin Gentry, because you own my brother, didn't tell him about trades.
That's fair.
Shout out Justin Gentry.
Yeah, shout out Justin.
JG, the real JG.
Yeah, that for real. I don't hate this at all, Lucas. I don't. And Max Melton, we've been a pro Max Melton pod, so we've been a big fan of his. I think Jackson Powers Johnson makes this thing an A just by himself. Like,
I feel like that gave me a little wiggle room to take Malachi Corley. It's like,
when
you took JPJ.
Like,
if you didn't have JPJ, is a W.
Yeah. No, that's how it should be. All right, now I'm gonna get flamed here.
Let's see it.
F.
I'm gonna guess. I have
Like
not
3
seen
trades.
it. I'm going to bet that Kool-Aid McKinstry's your first round pick.
If he's at 29, I think it's all voided because he was not available. I don't think on any of ours.
Yeah, but
So
you
had
had
to have
traded up to
cheated.
get him.
You had
He
to,
was way
you had to
down.
have traded up or cheated. One of the two.
Let's guess who's his first round pick.
Kool-Aid McKinstry for sure.
No, it's gonna be an edge.
Who's
saying I drafted in the first round?
Oh, he traded
Oof.
back.
Oh, he traded
Just put
back.
it
All
up.
these pussies trading.
Oh my god.
Oh, he got another SEC.
He got the
corner.
Georgia guy.
I
Oh
like
my
Lassiter
gosh.
too.
Real quick, can I just let it know? Everyone's getting Braylon twice in round 3. I got him in round 3. You boys got him in round 2. I cooked.
I didn't think you'd be there. He's at the top of the board, and I was like, yeah.
I got him at pick 70. I got him at pick 77.
C+.
So this
That's
is
61.
this is what I this
Mike just instantly off the
I love Mike, man.
this is how I thought about it. Okay, so I'm at pick 29. I didn't like anybody there. So there was Rakestraw there, and I'll explain the linebacker. I'll get there. I like Jeremiah Trotter Jr. Dog.
Yeah, keep stacking that linebacker room, brother.
Hey, you like Andrew Van Ginkel? You're gonna like Jeremiah Trotter Jr. Trust me.
Is he an edge or like Anzalone?
He's a hybrid who's got ball skills. He can get after the quarterback. I like, and it's kind of like your wide receiver take a little bit, but it's like Derek Barnes, his future. I like a Jeremiah Trotter, Jack Campbell core, and I'll get to that. But anyway, so I had to pick 29. I said, you know what? I don't like anybody here. I'm going to trade back. Someone wants a 5th-year option. So I'm listening. You can have the 5th-year option. Give me your 3rd and 5th next year. I got some assets. I traded back. I got Kamari Lassiter. He is let me tell you something right now.
Good.
He's a Dan Campbell guy. I know Brad Holmes guy. He played in the Senior Bowl because he said any game I could go out and compete, I'm going to play. And he went out and competed. He plays in the SEC. He's been tested. He's played on enormous stages.
National championship.
He fits. Yes. Won a natty. He fits exactly like the toughness. He's the only thing that I'm worried about a little bit with Kamari is his speed. He runs like a 4.5. We'll see what he tests at the combine. I think if he does, he could slide maybe into even maybe into the late first. We'll see how he does. But regardless, I like him a lot. And then I went Braylon Trice at 61. I addressed the edge because again, he was there and Booner's mock in the 3rd round. I took him at 61, but if you like a player, you like him. So I took him there. I said, I'll take Braylon Trice over who's available. I drafted guard in the 3rd round, Christian Mahogany. Maybe that's just because we like Christian Mahogany. Who knows?
That's
I like his last name at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I addressed guard. He's actually 1-0 against me because I can't pronounce his last name, or I couldn't. So yeah, he got me there. But I like him. I drafted a guard, and then I got Jeremiah Trotter. Turn on Jeremiah Trotter Jr. His dad played. He was an all-pro in the NFL. Turn on his tape. I promise you, especially you, Lucas, you turn on that man's tape, you'll like him. Now, if you want to say, Jeff, they don't need a linebacker, fair. I also think with Derek Barnes being up for a contract very, very soon, I don't know if Derek Barnes is the guy I want to keep around long term. We'll see how he does this season. You get another guy, you get to reset the rookie contract, and I think Jeremiah Trotter Jr. brings a lot of things that could help this Lions defense. And everything we like I said about Andrew Van Ginkel, a guy who can get you 6 sacks and a couple pass deflections. He's kind of a do-it-all linebacker. I like Trotter a lot, and he can play on special teams right away. So that's who I went with. That's my mock draft. I got some assets. Give me a grade.
I'm gonna go B+. I don't think there's a lot of shock factor, but I think there's a lot of I like that. I think for an A, you got to be walking out of like, but I think you walk out of there and you do one of the Iafrates, you put the fingers up, nod the head. Let's go to work. You got some dogs to go to work with, and you address all the positions in need. And I did the wide receiver, and you did the linebacker, where it's make what you do good, even better. I don't think you can go wrong there if you address positions in need. So I'll give it a B+.
I'll give it a B. I will stir the pot a little bit. You hold on Booner and said that he shouldn't draft the corner round 1. And then
I've got something about this draft. I got a good grade for him.
All right, I'll let you cook.
And then
obviously you got your boy Mahogany. Jeff, let me finish. Braylon Trice, obviously I like that. And then I don't agree with the linebacker pick. I mean, I like all the things you said. Obviously, he could be a dog and whatnot. I just don't agree with that, but I'll still give it a B+. We'll just have
Jeff,
to stir the pot, though.
just sit there in the torture chamber for a second real quick as well, brother. This is what I'm going to do. Jeff gave me the lowest draft out of all of us so far. I'm just going to throw that out there. And Lukas Gentry, I just want to throw this out there. Jeff got Braylon Trice just like I did. I got Braylon Trice in the 3rd round at number 73, where he got Christian Mahogany. And I also got Christian Mahogany in round 3, where he got the linebacker at 92. In front of that, take out Jeremiah Trotter. I got Devondre Sweat instead of Jeremiah Trotter, basically. And he still took a corner in his first pick. And I didn't yeah, so I'm gonna give him a C in this one. And I like the picks, like Braylon Trice, love it. Christian Mahogany, love it. I like Kamari Lassiter as well. I've watched him, love that, and I like trading back. I was one like a couple weeks ago when Nick said I don't hate the idea of Brad moving back at all. The linebacker, though, I'm kind of out on a linebacker at all in the draft. I'm like we have a linebacking room. If you want to go get a guy that can kind of be a cheaper deal and bring a guy in, like you have Rodrigo, who's started for a whole season and went 9-3 to end the year.
This guy's better than Rodrigo.
Okay, that's fine, but like we need other pieces to fill in holes. You don't need like depth to like replace a Malcolm Rodriguez. Like that's just not what you need on this football team. But to me, it's like I'm gonna have to go C. I'll go C+. I'll be a little nicer, but like you cooked. You cooked my draft. You gave me the worst grade, and you knew what you drafted. You knew what you drafted.
Boys, let me give you a tip, okay? Let's try not to be personal when we're grading drafts. All right, let's just.
I knew Booner.
I'm just okay. Not
You're
personal.
clearly
I'll give you a C+. I like the two middle. Okay, I'll give you a B- then if you don't want me to be personal.
See, that's how I know he's personal. He just rose it.
I do like the Lassiter. I do like the
But anyway, it's okay, Booner. No,
I like Braylon Trice. I like Christian Mahogany. I just hate the linebacker pick. Like that takes you from a higher grade down. Like I'm so like we have linebackers. Like I'm a very big proponent this offseason of filling the holes that need to be filled on this football team. And linebacker is not one of those things. And it's like wide receiver might be because Josh Reynolds is gone. That's why I like the Lukas one. But linebacker isn't like one where it's like, hey, that dude's just a dog. We need like you just don't like even if he's a dog, do you need him? Maybe not. Like you just drafted a linebacker 1st round last year. Like is that a need? Probably not. In the 3rd round.
So is it B- or C+, Booner?
C+.
Okay, you stand on business.
It's okay. So
it's crazy. He gave me the lowest grade out of everyone.
Okay.
I knew it was
and he
coming that
drafted the
entire
same guy.
time.
And I got them in a better spot.
He was just waiting.
Okay,
I got better value. The same exact guys you drafted, better value, and you gave me the worst grade out of everyone.
Did you hear
That's
anything
wild,
I said?
Bro. You just don't like Rakestraw.
Did you hear? I literally said to you, Booner, I don't even care about who you drafted, which you pointed out who I drafted, which that's okay.
There's no
hold on.
this. You just cooked me, and then you had the
I
same
didn't cook
draft.
you, actually.
Worst pick.
All I said was,
you.
yeah, thank you. I'm not even going to do this. I'll just let him think that. But regardless, thank you guys for the grade.
Cheers.
The reason why I traded back is I got a corner trading back and getting more assets. That's how I looked at it.
Yeah, getting a 3rd round and a 5th round is big. I'll give you that.
Thank you.
He'll throw you a bone. He'll throw you a bone.
I'm gonna be honest. Obviously, the grade might have been biased because you came at me a little.
I know you don't have to tell. I know it's biased. You don't have to tell me that. I
think it was a good draft. Just take the linebacker out for next week, please.
Okay.
Yeah, I knew it was coming. I tried to give you a handoff, Booner, and he ran with it. It was good. Good execution.
Yeah.
Great play call.
I won't
everything.
grade first. I got to learn that because people get offended.
No, it has nothing to do with grading first or anything. It's just like if you know you drafted the same players as me and then you grade me the worst out of everyone.
Okay. Well, Jeremiah Trotter, I'll explain the linebacker pick. So Derek Barnes, Alex Anzalone
I love you guys.
are coming up for they're going to have to be extended in the near future. I can't, although Anzalone played at an extremely high level, Derek Barnes, yeah, he showed flashes. I don't think you can look at this linebacker core and be like, yeah, we're set for the next 3 to 5 years. I like adding a guy who's under a 4-year contract that has a lot of upside. You get him in the 3rd round. That's why I drafted a linebacker. It's more like Brad. If we can't say like, oh, draft this, make a strength even stronger. But then when you take a certain pick, that's why I was open to the wide receiver for Lukas, even though guys are free agents. I get that. But I'm thinking, listen, in the future, I want to make something that is strong, even stronger. Like you're going to have Anzalone. He's only getting older. Derek Barnes. I don't know if I want to keep Barnes around. So, and Malcolm
Yeah.
Rodriguez, let's be real here. I know he's
But-
a folk hero, but like, let's be real. Like Malcolm Rodriguez is not a starter on 85% of the teams in the NFL. Like, so like, can we just kind of relax?
in the NFC Championship game, Jeff?
I'm gonna
I
hit
get
you
that.
back with this then real quick because you said
That's
the
my
same thing.
reasoning for that. That's my
Wait,
reasoning.
Which is fair, but you said this said the same thing about Lucas's draft. It's like there are needs, like not getting a defensive interior, and obviously like you might get one, but like to me, it's I get that, but you can like add a linebacker in free agency as well when that time comes, or you can draft one next year. I just think like this year, it's like defensive interior, like. Even to me, giving a wide receiver in the 3rd round would be more important to me than a linebacker as of right now. Because like if Josh Reynolds does leave, you don't get DPJ back, or like there's just like you still have to keep this offense up to date. And I do get that point is fair too. Like at some point you're gonna have to address linebacker again, but like you just drafted one in the 1st round last year. Like you just got Jack Campbell.
Yeah,
Rodrigo's going to be here for a couple more years.
Yes.
Anzo just signed a 3 or 4 year contract to start the season. Like you have addressed linebacker.
I look at it as
already
BPA.
have addressed that.
I looked at it as BPA. I took the best player at 92. There was no one. There was no defensive lineman. That's just how I looked at it. I didn't look like, oh, we need a defensive lineman. So I'm going to take, a guy that's a 5th rounder. You know what I mean? So he was the best player. I said I'm going to take it. But regardless,
you could have done what I did and moved everyone down to and took Tavondre Sweat and then you addressed it.
All right, let me put this poll up, and then you guys can vote. Tell me who had the best mock. Give your opinions on it, and I'm curious. Let me see what the people are saying here. Get some of the people's thoughts. Steve Wilds, he says no. You take BPA. Zach says I would have drafted your mom at 69 and got an A+. That's fair. Jonas says you can't be on the Booner path and vote for Booner having the best grade.
Booner, how do you feel about that?
What? Yeah, now you could be on you could vote for whoever you want. The Booner path, it's like, hey, we're all here to be better, man. It has nothing to do with just being all Booner, man. It's we're here to be better. I'm gonna go vote though. I'm gonna go vote. There's no Booner on the list. There's no Booner on the list.
I know.
I mean, what are we doing here, Jeff? This is unbelievable, Jeff.
All right,
Jeff, like you love
in
yourself.
all seriousness,
man.
that was me. That was my fault. I actually typed my name twice. I'll do another one.
Just let Booner out. You guys do what I do with you. It's me versus
boys.
Jeff.
I'm trying to do a lot of things at once. All right, I messed up.
Hey, he's cooking.
That is on me. All right, that is on me. Let me type.
Shout out Steve Wilds, man.
Hey, if we have like a little extra time before the next segment, we should do another live mock 4-rounder, just a quick one with people.
Yeah, we should do one like we're us 4 talking together and we could do it. It is Monday, mock draft Monday. Let's do one with the boys.
All right, that was my bad. I think I was just
don't make me get political in here if you're messing with the polls. Don't mess with the polls and get political up around here, bro.
I was just processing how personal that one got.
Season.
So I was just like, I messed up the typing. I'm like, what is going on right now?
Yeah, I'm sure.
No, but
you see that, Lucas?
What?
Jeff's
don't bring me into this. I'm enjoying this one.
No, it's not a big deal. It is not a big deal, fellas. I want to do a live mock though. I do. I think that's a great idea. We should do one collectively. We just did one each on our own. We do one collectively. Let the people weigh in. We'll do like a collective mock draft as a community, and we'll do a 4-rounder. Because again, we don't have to do 7 rounds like that.
No trades.
I think you have to like pay for that, anyways.
Well, I have PFF, so we can.
Yeah, big dog.
I'll give you a login if you want.
That's probably why you made 3 trades.
You know what's funny is Gentry's like, no one told me I could trade. All of us traded besides Gentry.
I know, what the fuck.
Like
there was no proof of the mock drafts until yours was sent, so I didn't know that was a thing.
All right, let's get
Gentry
this
just
going
doesn't
here.
think about Gentry's just
Jeff with the big lead
checkers.
in the poll. Jeff with a massive lead in the poll right now.
All right.
Let
me get this up. We'll do this. Let me see here. All right, put the poll. We'll put this up. We'll do a live mock here.
Do the zoomed in one where it kind of takes their face out because it's hard to see even for me.
All right. What do you mean zoom in on the players?
No,
No,
you're
no,
good. Just
remember
go back
how, like,
normal. You can keep us on the screen so people can see it. Just take the
yeah,
lower
that's fine
third out.
then. Yeah, that's fine.
Take the lower third out,
Okay.
the bottom thing. You should be
There
able to
we
zoom
go.
out.
All right. So
JJ.
this is who's best
JJ.
available.
This is
Wait,
like what mine
Jaden
was
Daniels is still sitting there?
like. Crazy, dude. He was available for mine as well, and so was JJ.
Yeah, this is kind of ridiculous, actually.
I don't know what's going on.
Run
this
it back.
happened to me.
Should we run it back and mess with the sliders to make it realistic?
Yeah, why would Jaden Daniels? That is that's why Brad Holmes hates these.
Woke sports,
Seriously.
man. I'm telling you.
Whoa.
I'm telling you, woke sports.
Let me see.
You could find a stat for anything off PFF.
Just refresh the page and
He's
set the
cooking. He's
things.
cooking.
Shout out.
Do you think JJ goes to New England? I was thinking about that. Well, I think we were talking about that. What was it? Saturday night?
I hope
Yeah, we were
not.
talking about Atlanta spot. It's just weird. He has no. I think we talked about it Saturday. Just like what weapons is he going to end up having?
But I'm saying, do you
Yeah.
think New England? Because I could just see that's a Bob Kraft pick if I ever saw one. He
For
would
sure.
have Jane Daniels sitting on his lap. Pause. You could just take him,
All right.
take him, rechange the franchise. Nope.
JJ.
So we'll do it this way.
Okay.
Oh, this is who's available.
Yeah.
There's no
and
way.
this-
Get Latu and walk out of there with a
There's
smile
no
on your
way.
face.
This is unrealistic as well.
yeah, but
Why? Why do
we
you
also
say
have
that?
to we also
Latu's
have to
not- he's not
we
gonna
also
be
have to
available.
think, guys, like we're basing these mocks off the Bible. Like, so can we like stop calling what's realistic and what's not realistic? Like, unless Jaden Daniels is there, of course. But like these other players, nothing's as for certain. Like we agree.
I
there.
mean, his average draft position's 20 and his rank is 18, and we're at 29. And that man fell
Yeah,
to
but
us.
Miles
Take him
Murphy
right now.
last year.
Hit him.
Yeah,
Hit him.
I mean,
take that.
that's what
take
I'm saying. I mean, I could redo it, but like eventually, you're just gonna have to. It's just how it is.
Nah,
You know.
take him.
I mean,
Take him.
all right, we'll go edge at 29. I like that idea as well.
Without a
We're
doubt.
gonna cook for that.
So with the second pick, there's
Good
Chris
job.
Jenkins. That'd be a good
Hmm.
pick. Christian Haynes,
See what-
Braylon Trice is here. We took an edge already. I like Chris
Any
Jenkins.
good corners?
Yeah, let me see. Let's see who's
I feel like
available.
we can get a corner. I'm starting to kind of think about this outside of, unless one of those guys that like are in the first
big
round.
dip.
I feel like these guys are going to fall. Like you can get a Max Melton like in the 4th round. Like
Yeah.
I just don't. I don't know.
I like Chris Jenkins with this pick.
Yeah, you get an edge and then an interior. I think that's pretty solid.
So what are you guys thinking? Chris
I
Jenkins?
say Chris Jenkins. I'm trying to think who else. Yeah, I'd say, yeah, don't overthink it. I think in second, at where that's at, he's a steal there.
Yeah, we'll go Chris Jenkins. All right. Next pick, there's probably a guard available. Unless
See if McCormick is. He
Look at
was
Michael
available in
Penix
mine.
dropping.
let me see. We'll go corner and offensive lineman. We'll see who's there.
Mahogany. Oh yeah, Mason McCormick.
Can you go up real quick?
Yeah, there's some corners. There's some corners here. Max Melton's here. I mean,
Maybe
Kalen
take
King
Melton.
here. Yeah, I'm all for Melton.
You can get him in the next round. I feel
Yeah,
like, though.
he's gonna fall.
There's no
within
reason
90
getting him right
days.
now. He's going to be there.
And then probably a guard. You go with Mahogany or like
Yeah, we keep
McCormick.
taking Mahogany.
Mahogany's our guy.
Hey, what's
That's
the
who-
word on Cam Hart? Does anyone know? I haven't
This
really
is-
watched much on Cam
He's
Hart.
all right. He's
It's-
not great, but he's not bad. It's just, bro, like
Watch
in Notre
him.
Dame, it's just
Yeah.
they run a very, very basic defense, and they never like. It's very rare that they just have a absolute stud. You know what I mean?
Kyle Hamilton.
So
That's
Mason
fair.
Mason
fair.
McCormick, that's who Scott brought up yesterday. That's
No,
a guy
that's
that we
what I would take him.
That's
Yeah,
I would
yeah,
take
let's
him over
let's-
Mahogany. He's more dynamic than Mahogany.
go Mason
yeah,
McCormick.
we'll go Mason there. And then at corner, yeah,
Say
Max
Max
Melton's
Melton's
here.
still there. He might even be there in the next round. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, honestly, I might just go Max. I like Max here. I don't really like any. Not crazy about any of these guys. I mean, Jarvis Brownlee, but I like Max Melton. We agree there. Anybody?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would go. I would go Melton here just to be safe. Get the best guy available.
All right. And then that's our. Let's see what we got. So
Hey,
we got
Amen.
a.
I fuck
Yeah,
with it.
Max is a guy that they think will go 4th round.
I could see it just because
I mean,
he
he's
didn't
really
have like crazy production, but then he did do his whole draft stock right now is how he performed against Marvin Harrison.
I mean, hey,
obviously he had games outside of that, but
let's be fair too. We didn't really know much about Max Melton until Nick came on the show and talked to us about him. So that's kind of like the word on the street right now with Max Melton is like he's not a super well known guy. People do know him because he is a dog and what he did versus Marvin Harrison. But like that is a sleeper type of dude to where obviously like it's a C at 92. He's probably going to end up being a 4th round pick, and Brad could probably get a steal out of him.
I think getting Chris Jenkins that late is a steal. I mean, even Lucas being the OSU guy was hyping up Chris Jenkins all year. He's a dog, man. I would love to see him in Honolulu Blue.
Imagine if Latu, however you pronounce his name, fell to 29.
oh my god, yeah, we didn't even get to that. That would be.
Yeah,
I'm not
That's
saying
the first
he
time
is.
he's fell in any mock draft I've done or we've done, I think. I don't think I've ever seen him there at 29.
I'm not saying he is Booner, but coming out of college, he not as productive as he was. Gives me a lot of, and he will never be that good. But I'm just saying, just base player build and how they rush the passer, a lot of TJ Watt vibes.
Trade up for that man, then.
Well, I'm not saying he's going to be TJ Watt. I'm just saying the way that he gets to the passer
Fair.
and just his build, he reminds me a lot of TJ Watt. I'm not saying he is TJ Watt because TJ Watt, even coming out of college, was better. He fell way too low, but I'm just saying you can see some similarities there.
I like that. I love it.
I want to go around the NFL now. I got some things that I saw yesterday that I want to bring up. Just some rumor things. It's free agency is about a month away, so now you start getting the rumors, especially at quarterback. You see Kirk Cousins. I saw this on 33rd Team too. That him being linked to the Falcons is like a real thing. And I know his extension with the Vikings is kind of fallen through. They're not really agreeing on a certain deal. But I saw this graphic today, and it was from Sam Monson, I believe it is, on the Falcons, 33rd Team. He says they're a Kirk Cousins away from potentially contending in the NFC. That's what he said. Which, contending in the NFC, what does that mean? I mean, winning your division? Yeah, maybe. I think they could. I'd like their I mean, they're putting together a good defense, and we know what they have offensively. Like, I think Kirk will be a great fit there.
Yeah. I mean, let's be honest real quick. What did they finish last year? 7-10, and they didn't have a quarterback. Like, if they do get it, and I'm not like a big Kirk Cousins guy, you add Kirk Cousins to that football team with some of the weapons like Drake London, Kyle Pitts, like Bijan Robinson. They do have a decent offensive line. Like, I'm not like against that would be a huge move. That's like the one thing that they need to address this offseason is getting someone in that building who can win football games. And Kirk Cousins, as much as people hate him, and we go at him in the NFC North, he's a guy that can go win football games and he puts numbers up, and he's a good leader. So I think that would be great for the Falcons. I don't know if it puts them into contending because I mean, maybe it does because we talked about it the other day. The NFC doesn't have like a crazy amount of like contenders. So maybe that does kind of put them to a spot, but that they almost won the division last year with, I mean, who are the 3 quarterbacks they went through? They had like 3 or 4 different quarterbacks in the last 2 years.
Taylor Heineke's a dog.
Yeah.
Don't disrespect
They
Booner.
should have
they
been
just
playing
didn't have
him since week 1.
Yeah, Desmond Ridder. Like, they just didn't have anyone that knew how to win and like a quarterback that's been in the league. And like Kirk Cousins is a guy like that. And if the Vikings don't pay him, if I'm Kirk, I'll go to Atlanta and go win some football games. Look at those
100%.
weapons you have. I mean, those are great weapons. I know you're leaving Justin Jefferson. To me, if you're taking the full circle of weapons from Minnesota to there, I almost would take the Falcons because you have the Bijan. Like, and then I know you have Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson and TJ Hawk. Okay, like, maybe not. I just started naming them. And I'm like, wait a second. I'm just thinking of Bijan and Drake and Kyle Pitts and Jonnu Smith. Like, those are dudes. And then you have an offensive line and you have a new head coach. Like, I don't hate that for Kirk Cousins, to be honest.
No, personally, that's a really good fit for him. And it'd be interesting to see what like a quarterback could actually do with Kyle Pitts. Obviously, he's had his off years and whatnot. And then you have the 2 running backs that are dynamic as ever. And then Drake London, I seen my boy Eric in here say he's a top 10 wide receiver if Kirk's on that team, which who knows? I mean, Drake London's really good. And personally, I would just love to see it for the downfall of the Vikings. Obviously, Kirk leaves, and then you know who's coming right behind him, and that's Justin Jefferson. So just blows open the NFC North even more for the Lions. And obviously, you will maybe have to face the Falcons in the NFC, but I mean, that's a lot easier than facing Kirk Cousins twice a year.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I think for Raheem Morris, this is his dream as well. If he can just get a Kirk Cousins that's already been through multiple systems, knows how to adjust to a different team, and is coming into a weak division, Kirk, he won't even have to throw the ball 45 times a game like he was in Minnesota. Like to your point, Booner, great offensive line, Bijan Robinson, Tyler Algier is still one of the most underrated players in football, period. So if he can just do that and just make the easy decisions, which Kirk Cousins is more than capable of, this team could be a lot like I feel like the Rams were this year, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't know about Raheem Morris yet. I know I like him as a defensive coach, but just in Atlanta, they're a quarterback away from competing. And I think for Bijan Robinson, at least you'd have they couldn't stack the box. And maybe Kyle Pitts could actually be what he was his rookie year. So I think it's great for the receivers. Again, Minnesota, man, they're in a tough spot. They can't afford Kirk. They're probably going to have to draft a quarterback. So maybe it's J.J. McCarthy or someone.
What do you think about this? Because I did have a Vikings fan message me the other day asking about JJ. And I showed Lucas this and Gentry, but like the kind of question was like, what do you like? Is JJ going to be able to take that step if he does get drafted to Minnesota? Do you guys think Kirk Cousins gets a franchise? Because they could franchise tag him, I believe. Do you think that's like a thing? They draft someone, tag him for a year, let him go, and let JJ step up, or like a Jaden Daniels or a Michael Penix?
If I'm Kirk Cousins, I'm holding out if I'm playing under a franchise tag.
He's done it before though.
But he's not. He's coming off a torn Achilles, but a team that can't afford him, that obviously isn't going to win their division.
Someone said he can't get tagged.
And yeah, the fact that he already got tagged, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, he can't get tagged again. I'm pretty sure that's how it works. But there's only a certain amount of times you can get tagged by a team.
Okay, I wasn't sure. Just someone messaged me that, and that was the first thought I had was maybe if they tag, but like signing Kirk Cousins and drafting a quarterback doesn't make any sense.
Could you
imagine the Vikings are actually in a really bad position.
Go get Jimmy G. Go get Jimmy G.
And Jaden Daniels both go in the NFC North.
Oh my gosh.
I don't see a way that unless Minnesota trades up.
So if Kirk can't get tagged, that's a bad position for Minnesota to be in. That's like they either sign Kirk to a big deal or they have to draft someone and he has to play instantly. Like I don't know if I like that for them. I like that for the North though.
Someone was saying on ESPN that they couldn't see that the Vikings letting him go just for the sole reason of losing Justin Jefferson, because you know that's inevitable because Justin Jefferson's not going to sit and waste his time unless you do get an elite quarterback. But Jay Jettis isn't going to stay around and waste his career even if he's getting paid.
Yeah, at least for JJ. I mean, Minnesota's a good spot because they're probably going to give it their all to re-sign Justin Jefferson. If I'm Minnesota, you have to draft a quarterback regardless, and they're not going to. They can't franchise Kirk, and they're not giving him enough guaranteed money. Which coming off an Achilles injury, that's what he would expect. So I think they're heading towards a divorce. I think he's out of there, and I think that Atlanta's the best fit for him. I think it's perfect because they need a quarterback. He can go in there. It's a stacked offense. Like, I think it just makes the most sense for both sides. Now for Minnesota, like you're probably going to have two rookie quarterbacks in this division next year, and a guy in his second year starting, but he's been in the league for a handful of years. So it's a relatively young division at the quarterback position. Like you're going to have by far the most experienced quarterback, by far.
Go ahead, Booner.
I heard I had a little bit of a source, and I think Lucas, you actually might have been there with me when I heard this source. I'm not going to say who it was. A couple months ago, I did hear something about a Michael Penix potentially being in Minnesota. They're like a Michael Penix guy. So like if they do wait till a little later in the draft, I'm going to throw that out there. Don't be surprised to see a guy like Michael Penix. And I know like he's fallen in mock drafts, second, third round. If they end up not going quarterback in the first round, Michael Penix, don't be surprised if he's playing in Minnesota. That's just something that I heard about a month or two ago, and it was very interesting when I heard it. And it was an actual source that I heard it from. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's a legit thing, or like a Michael Penix being in Minnesota.
Yeah, I'm not too high on him.
What's up, Gentry?
I'm not too high on Penix as like an NFL player, but like if you can get him later on, like maybe like one of the picks, like for example, like the Lions did with Hendon Hooker. You know, who knows? It might work out for the Vikings.
TJ Hawkinson is just in hell. He's in NFL hell. He had a good season this year, had a good run, but he went from the Lions to Kirk Cousins for like a season and a half, and now he had Nate Mullins for like a couple games this year, so that was going well for him. But now he's just in quarterback hell again.
What's crazy?
Should have never asked to be the highest tight end in football, highest paid tight end in football.
Yeah,
Ignorant.
It's absolutely terrible.
Smart from Brad Holmes, man.
I think JJ fits best with the Broncos. I think that's perfect. I think it's if he's going to get drafted. I know because the reason why I say that is because it's before Seattle. So if we're talking, that's obviously Seattle won't be there. If he falls past the Broncos, then Seattle's the next best place for him. But I think him and Sean Payton, they're JJ. Like Sean Payton is looking for a point guard quarterback. That's someone that's going to like go off his script. Russ is an off script guy. I think JJ fits better. He's a little mobile. I think he could be not that I'm not saying he's Drew Brees, but kind of his idea of like a point guard. I think JJ could do that. So I think JJ with the Broncos makes sense. Like I think the Vikings might have a situation where the only quarterback, the best quarterback available will be Michael Penix. That's if Seattle doesn't take him. So they're in an interesting situation where do you trade up? Do you stay put? Like, I don't know. There could be four quarterbacks off the board by the time they pick. Yeah, JJ.
Yeah, you guys remember the
Bo Nix?
Yeah, and then Bo. I don't want to say settling for Bo Nix, but he's like, maybe they're high on Bo Nix. But
did you guys see the reports though? And I think I sent it to you in our group. I think it was like Thursday or Friday, but there's a lot of reports that's starting to come out, and it's that conversation we had a couple weeks ago with the quarterbacks in this draft. And I was trying to say that like you never really know what's going to happen with quarterbacks in the NFL draft. Like last year, Will Levis was like the bet on favorite to like go number 3 or 4, whatever it was. And then he fell all the way to like second or third round, and no one knew that was coming. But this year, the reports that are starting to come out, and it's kind of starting to pick up more steam, is that there's a huge drop off here in this quarterback class after JJ McCarthy. And it's like executives and GMs are starting to see it a lot more to where it's like Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels. I'm missing someone here. Drake May and JJ McCarthy. And after that, it's a drop off. And typically when you have that kind of drop off, especially this year, when there's a lot of NFL teams that are like, we need a quarterback, we need a franchise guy. Like there's a handful of teams that need someone in the first round this year. And if there's a drop off, you're going to see a lot of people starting to trade up or kind of like, let's make this move. In Denver, Jeff, that's a perfect example of a team that like they do need to make a move at that position. And if there's a drop off, they're going to go after that next guy available. And if JJ is the last one and they feel that, that's exactly, I think, what's going to happen.
I think Vegas is a good one too. If Vegas gets him, you instantly turn him with Josh Jacobs, Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers. The offensive line is getting better. They're still not good. And the downfall of that is now Jim Harbaugh's in your division, and so is Patrick Mahomes. So that would be where I'd give you Denver. Well, the same thing with Denver. Fuck. That would be kind of that'd be a tough hill because if Jim's in LA, every time he goes up against JJ, he's gonna have a little bit of an advantage.
I didn't even think of that. That's actually wow.
And Scott talked about it a little bit too, Lucas. I'm pretty sure he said the Raiders were one of the teams, and it kind of just goes to show how many teams are high on JJ, and like how really no one predicted that, and everyone said he was kind of going to fall a little bit. And there are teams that are pretty high on what he can do and his intangibles as a QB.
Do you guys see Chris Sims say this about Jalen Hurts?
I did. Yes.
Chris Sims is so.
Chris Sims said that Jalen Hurts is the most overrated quarterback in the league. And he said, I respect a lot about Jalen Hurts, but I think Jalen Hurts is also like the most overrated player. Sorry, not even quarterback. He said, that's me. I know I'm wrong. I take a lot of crap about that comment, but he plays quarterback for a team that's an all-star team. They have the best O-line in football. It's not even close. No, that's another just clueless take. But regardless, I just think if you put some other quarterback in Philly, you put Kyler Murray in there, you'd say, damn, Kyler's amazing. Is he the MVP of football?
Oh, my God.
He got 3
like
things.
A Parsons would.
I've never – Chris Sims hit a triple. He just took 3 L's in one paragraph.
Him saying I know I'm wrong is one of the funniest things of all time.
Continuing to type out a paragraph after he said he's wrong is just comical.
Like the first L is he's the most overrated player in football. The second L is they have the best O-line in football by a long shot, which is not true. And then he added in Kyler would be the MVP if he was with the Eagles. I mean, did he watch the Eagles offense this year? It was egregious. Like in that, and again, it's the same offense last year, quarterback by the same guy that was one of the best in the NFL. So yeah, Kyler Murray.
I'll say this.
I wonder what he has to think about Brock Purdy, because if you like, Jalen Hurts is obviously a more talented quarterback, but even in the Super Bowl last year, like Jalen Hurts, especially down the field, was dropping dots. Like it's not like he just chucks it up and AJ Brown is making a play. Yes, AJ Brown does do that because it's AJ Brown. But Jalen Hurts is an accurate passer down the field. Yeah, he's going to have a bad season when he has a new OC who was terrible and got fired year one. He's dealing with a knee injury, and his offense as a whole, the team as a whole, was just falling apart. And you can't just blame Jalen Hurts' drop-off.
They and he's a playmaker too. You got like I just saw the highlight yesterday of him against the Bills. You know, the Josh Allen Bills, like just game winning in overtime, just like a 30-yard run, and he just made a play. And just like guys just don't do that. And I mean, it's the same conversation we have in Detroit here with Jared Goff, where people are like, oh, Jared Goff's actually not that good. We can win without him. But it's like they're like, oh, well, he has an offensive line, he has weapons, he has running backs. It's like he has Ben Johnson. It's like, yeah, you could say that, but like he's out there still making, like Jalen Hurts is still Jalen Hurts at the end of the day. Yeah, maybe in a bad situation, good quarterbacks aren't going to be great. Like that's what happens. Like, I don't know, Kyler, I'm not going to sit here and say Kyler Murray is good, but like he's in a bad situation. Like who cares? Like, what are we doing here? Like it's terrible. That's a terrible thing.
I already said Jalen Hurts is one of my like sleeper bets for MVP next year, especially with his odds. A lot of people are sleeping on the Eagles and forgetting obviously they had that collapse towards the end of the year, but they were a pretty good team at what?
I said take him to win the division.
Yeah, I do like that too. But like I want to say Jalen Hurts was at like plus 1,700. He was behind people like Lucas said, like Brock Purdy and whatnot. I think the Hurts and the Eagles are due for a big bounce back year.
Did you place that Nick Chubb comeback player of the year bet?
No. Did you say something about that?
You better do that.
Let me check the odds.
I saw he might not be on the Browns next year. They said he might be a cap casualty.
No,
because he's coming off. I think he has 2 injuries now. I'm just reading reports. These are reports. This is not Booner reports.
I've been to like more Cleveland Browns games than I can count. Them cutting Nick Chubb would be like the Lions cutting Penei Sewell. That Nick Chubb is like the guy there. I'm
just reading reports.
I know. I got you. I got you. But if that would be moronic. I don't care what. Like that's their culture.
Yeah,
Nick Chubb.
They call me Booner Schefter. I'm just over here reporting, brother.
That is true.
I'm just over here reporting. Booner bombs.
Oh, look at this. That guy up north. I would have taken Mond over Fields too. Not going to lie. Opportunity and setting is everything with these young dudes. Why are you acting like Fields had walked into like the 49ers? Like, what are we doing here? And I don't even like Fields that much, but like, I mean, Kellen Mond, what? I don't know. Hey, listen, maybe you're speaking that guy up north. I don't know. I don't know if I misread what you just said, but Mond over Fields, like, I mean, that.
He had a chance to start in Minnesota. Like he started in Minnesota and he shit the bed. Like he was terrible. Like he was god awful.
Hey, truth teller, 2011, Nick Chubb is a running back. Who cares if he's cut? He must have watched that.
The Cleveland Browns organization does.
Who were their RBs? What, Jerome Ford and Kareem Hunt? And they did, halfway decent with those guys. And those guys were getting beat up a little bit too. Jerome Ford went out a few different times.
Cut Nick Chubb and watch what happens to the Brown structure. It just crumbles.
Oh, I'm sure. But it's the Browns too, so
it's facts. It would be a Cleveland Browns move.
For sure.
Yeah, what they pay Nick Chubb?
It was I think it was after Henry, I believe. It could have been, it was definitely after Henry. I think they made him the highest and then CMC topped it.
Dude, that's where I don't
Going down this rabbit hole real quick though, Jeff. If you were the Niners because McCaffrey's on his second deal. After McCaffrey's rookie deal, would you have re-signed him?
So I'll say this.
And I'm like
no, because this is a good conversation because I do think there are exceptions. Like McCaffrey is such a unicorn because you're paying him to be your running back, but also like one of your best offensive weapons. Like he's like one of your best wide receivers. So he's different because I'm willing to pay a guy that's going to catch, as many footballs as McCaffrey will. That's just how I feel. Like he produces so much in the receiving game that I think he's worth the money. And especially with who they have at quarterback, like everything matters. I mean, if they had like if you have a Mahomes or somebody or one of those guys that you have to pay, yeah, like I'm cool. You can leave. I'll pay my
Hey,
quarterback. Like
Nick,
I'm not.
Nick
I know
Chubb,
it sounds
12 million
aggressive,
next
but
year.
yeah, I think McCaffrey though, to answer your question, is the only really exception. To be
What
honest.
about like I'm trying to think of like another one that'd be like Derrick Henry when he was peaking.
Depends. I mean, if they have Ryan Tannehill, maybe you can have an argument because
Oh,
they
yeah,
need
which
Derrick
is fair.
Henry. You
Yeah,
get what
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
saying? Like
Yeah,
it depends
yeah.
what I got at quarter. I'm not saying you have to have him Mahomes, but like Jared, for example, you're like, man, well, he does need a run game, but if you pay him, like I'll just go find another running back. Like Matthew
Right.
Stafford with the Rams, like
Kinda with Jeff.
when he was playing, I'll just draft another running back. You know, that's just how I feel with it.
Nick Chubb. So the tweet that I saw, I looked it up here. There's multiple tweets. It's like it's a thing where they're like a lot of people in Cleveland are saying cut candidates, and one of them is Nick Chubb. He's about 11.5 million going into next year or going into the season. The offseason right now, the tweet that I'm looking at, it says that they have 19 million in available cap space going into this offseason, which is very low in my opinion. So if they need to make moves, obviously they made the playoffs without Nick Chubb. So like he's 11.5 million for a running back. Kind of to Jeff's points with running backs, it's like that's a good amount of money for a running back. And if you just won with Jerome Ford and Kareem Hunt, and then there was also a list of a bunch of players for them to kind of restructure and move things around. So it's interesting to me. I don't know what they'll do. That's a
Like-
huge. If he gets cut,
For example,
that's
if you-
huge.
The only reason why you're even thinking about this is because Deshaun doesn't look like Deshaun in Houston. If Deshaun was Deshaun in Houston, I honestly, Lucas, and maybe you feel differently, I'd be like, yeah, cut him. I'm cool with saving 11 million.
Yeah,
But the fact that
don't know,
Deshaun
because-
is a corpse, I'm like,
It's tough.
maybe you need Nick Chubbs. But I think right now, like they said, if Deshaun is Deshaun like he was in Houston, cut him. Like I'm cool with it.
Extend Flacco, man.
I just wouldn't cut him right now, man. Especially to the point that you just brought up, like Deshaun's a corpse. You go
Yeah,
into
which is
Cincinnati, who's a huge reason to the fact that the Browns got to the place that they were. Cincinnati not being what they are with Joe Burrow being out, that's not going to happen next year. I doubt the Steelers are as bad as they were last year. So they don't have a solid quarterback. Who is going to be the guy that you're going to try to go into Cincinnati and win with offensively? You're confident going in there with Jerome Ford? Are you?
I mean, they made the playoffs.
I'm not saying you guys, but like you're gonna get the troops rallied behind Jerome Ford.
Well, they have a good offensive line.
They do.
You can make things happen.
You're telling me you're
When
gonna
was
rely
I want to
on.
ask, when was the last Super Bowl team that went out there and just won with like a big time running back?
You don't. If you have a good quarterback, you don't need it. And a lot of times, the teams in the Super Bowl have the great quarterback.
Yeah, so that's where I'm just like a little bit to where it's like I don't think it's
But that's what I'm saying. Like they don't have a great quarterback. There's teams that make NFC championships, and then if you're on the NFC championship game, you're dancing.
It's like
You know what
the
I mean?
Titans. Like they just like I think Derrick Henry is one of the best ever. You guys know how I feel about him, but it's like were they ever going to win a Super Bowl with Derrick Henry and to Ryan Tannehill? Like no. So at some point, it's like this year, like they were never going to bring him back. He ran off the field in the last game of the season, knowing it was his last game. Like he was never coming back because of the money, man.
Yeah,
it's the same thing with Nick Chubb.
That's why I preach. Like I don't pay running backs. Like
with you on that, Jeff.
Yeah, there's one. I said McCaffrey because of the pass catching, but like still, it just depends, man.
I think there's Jahmyr Gibbs could get to a point though to where you can look at him as a McCaffrey, to where we can have that conversation in a couple of years. That's why I'm not leaving. I'm not going to bring Gibbs into that conversation because Gibbs isn't like a Derrick Henry or a Nick Chubb. Like he's a dynamic running back. He's a different running back. He's like a Kamara. He's like a Christian McCaffrey. So I'm going to wait on that one.
Yeah, because like the point you made, if you make a Super Bowl, you can make one with your run game, but I don't know if you can win one with just your run game. Like you're going to need Jared at the end of the day. That's the guy you need to pay. And your defense. Thank you. Yes, defense wins championship. I'm glad you brought that. That was the other part because it is a quarterback. It's a quarterback head coach league, but also you need a one of the best defenses. If Gibbs can be like McCaffrey, you have an argument. But he hasn't shown that in pass catching. He's shown flashes, but I need to see what we thought we'd see this past season, next season to like solidify that. Which maybe we will get to that point, and I think he can. But they just didn't really use him like that. They didn't use him a ton. I mean, there's games where we'd bet on. We bet every single weekend. We're betting on receiving yards and catches, and he hit them like half the games, like not even like 1/3 of the game. So
still got to develop a little bit of time.
Yeah, maybe he can.
Got that 5th year as well.
But will he ever get 1,000 yards in a receiving? That's what McCaffrey did. So like that's why I said he's an exception. Like the dude is a receiver, like an actual 1,000-yard receiver. I don't know if Gibbs will ever be It's like, would you pay Alvin Kamara?
I would have. When he
Yeah,
was in his prime,
I
he
agree.
was. If you look at, especially like you take this season out of it, if you look at McCaffrey's production and Kamara's production, it is scary similar. And so if you're paying price for it, like I'm with Booner on this one. I get your point. Your point is very well thought out, and it's the farthest thing from ignorant. Like it's very makes complete sense. It's hard to go against you. But I think to Booner's point, Jahmyr Gibbs is one of those guys that you could put an asterisk. He has the potential to be. I'm not going to say right now.
That's why you have to
From
wait
what
a
I
couple
saw
years.
rookie season, I'm like, haha. He might be one of those guys.
It's
He's
too
not a
early to
finished
tell,
product.
though.
You probably don't have to even extend him to like year 4. So it's like
No,
you're gonna
you-
know
You
exactly
got
what
the
he
fifth-year
is.
option too.
Yeah, you're gonna exactly know what he is. Should we do some mailbag question, fellas?
Yeah, we kind of that was a good conversation. Kind of took us to almost 10 o'clock here. Let's see, ETN, who's the most overrated, underrated quarterback in the league? The most overrated.
Most overrated right now, Geno Smith.
Yeah, Geno is. Yeah, it's very overrated. Like that one list, the 33rd team had him at like 12 or something like that, and he had an atrocious year.
And that doesn't make him terrible, but it's just I think people are living off that season still.
Yeah, that
Does-
was the one
does-
season.
Underrated would like, and I know this is like a big time. I think all of us agree he's top 5. I don't think he gets enough respect because he's lost a lot and he had a bad head coach. But Justin Herbert, like, can we? I think he's a top 5
I
quarterback
would have
in
put
my
him at
opinion.
underrated, but I get what you're saying.
You know what I mean? I just think a lot of people like casuals will say like, "Oh no, he's not a top 5 quarterback." I just think he's up there. Like I just think he's a dog, and he's been in a really bad position for a while.
I want to throw in another overrated guy. I think Tua is a little overrated.
Yeah.
I think
What about
he's
Trevor
overrated.
Lawrence?
Overrated.
Yeah.
Yeah, at this point, he is. Like, he hasn't lived up to what I thought he was. I still think there's potential there, but I'll tell you what, he's got a significantly higher upside than Tua. So that's why I feel like Tua is talked about as like, and I know I feel bad for him. He suffered a lot of concussions, but like that dude can't play outside of 90-degree weather. Like that's a
agree.
problem. That's a problem.
Yeah.
Like,
Especially in the
what I mean?
playoffs.
Underrated.
Gardner
Though.
Minshew. And I'll stand on that. I will stand
Best
on that.
best backup in the league.
He could start
Someone
for
said
like
Baker.
I'm trying to think of the teams around the league. He could have
I
started for the
think
Titans
Baker.
this year.
Baker's underrated.
I can get down with Baker.
I'm a Baker fan. I like Baker, man.
I think Baker's really
Yeah.
underrated.
Jimmy
Mac-
G overrated. That's a good one too.
Yeah, he sucks. Who on the Lions? Who on the Lions players would make the best coach?
I've got one.
I think Anzo.
Germ.
Germ
would be a good one.
Germ would
Both.
be I think if you had to pick one person to coach the football team right now, I think Germ. He's been in the league. Like he is a player's guy. Like Germ is perfect, dude.
I'm not saying right now, but in the future, I could see him like when he's done with football, St. Brown. Just like how much he loves the game, I could see him being really into it, being like a player's coach and whatnot. And yeah, that's what Zach said too.
I'm gonna say Dan Skipper. I think Dan.
Hey.
Hell of a coach.
I was gonna say Frank is my
He's
backup.
seen the paths of the
Yeah.
NFL.
Yeah,
He's seen
he
it
could be a
all.
tight ends coach. I mean, hell.
I was gonna say Frank is an offensive line coach. Let him take over Frank Haley or Hank Fraley's spot after he moves on to an OC.
You never know. All right, we'll get out of here. It's 10 o'clock, 10:01 actually. We appreciate you guys for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow. Thank you to Dion for joining the show. We did our
Shout
live
out.
mock draft,
Dion.
mock draft Monday. We got some special guests joining this week as well. We have more guests on, and we're not going to tell you who it is because you got to stay tuned for it. I can't wait to tell the people who they are, but later in the week they'll be on. Until then, appreciate you guys. It's crunch time. Jeff, Booner, Lukas, Michael Gentry. We'll catch you guys tomorrow, 8 p.m.
Love
to
you
10
guys.
p.m.
Out.
If you're not subscribed, subscribe. And by the way, breaking news, we have emotes.
Tomorrow, baby.
Are going to be live tomorrow. A lot of them, the good ones. We weren't able to get them up tonight. They got to us. Shout out to Roman. He's the man. He got it hooked up for us. We couldn't get it hooked up for tonight's stream, but tomorrow they'll be here. So tomorrow, members will have emotes. Have a blessed day, everybody, and we'll see you later.
Peace.